Oh, it's you. Come on in. Welcome to the Scumm Bar. Welcome to the Scumm Bar Podcast, Marvel Movie Marathon, where we go through the 22 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting with Iron Man donning his first suit and ending with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. We're going to talk Iron Man, Captain America, Avengers, Assemble, and everything in between. I am your host, Captain Mattbrush, and with me today is Iron Man himself.
Yeah? Well, I am Iron Man.
Inevitable. I do love the I'm inevitable than just the metal clank. Clink.
Yeah,
like it's
it is
a good
nice.
sound effect. Yeah.
It's nice, yeah.
Warning, the Scumm Bar Podcast, speaking of that, is going to contain spoilers for this movie and the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you do not want spoilers for anything in Marvel, please do not listen to this episode because it's going to ruin it all. If you really want spoilers, though, then listen ahead, full steam ahead, because we're going to go for it. So
Yeah, you can even listen to these in backwards order, and they'll still be spoiled. So it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all. Yep. This week for our Marvel Movie Marathon, we are, of course, talking about 2019's Avengers Endgame, starring everyone in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not even lying. It's everyone.
Almost
Look it
everybody.
up.
It's
Everyone.
no,
Nope.
but
Everyone's there. Nope. Nope. All of them.
Okay.
Remember that link you sent me, like, way back when, and it was like it just like edited in like the Ghostbusters and like Transformers, like Power Rangers, and everybody else also joining in with the Turtles at the end.
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's all I could think about when watching it this time was just like,
I totally
what, you
forgot about
wanted
that.
more? And then it just gets some more coming in.
Oh,
Is this
I
all
gotta
we
find
got?
that. Oh shoot. Okay, Portals.
That
where
was
would I
such a funny video. I loved it. Luke Skywalker shows up, like.
send it? I gotta find this. This is. Oh,
that
that's
is a
gonna be
meme
so
that
funny to
could just
watch.
keep on going. Like, you could make that video every year and it would be even funnier.
Okay, I assume that this is the one. I'm not entirely sure, but it's got 200,000 views a year ago. Literally everyone. Avengers Endgame portal scene. That must be the one.
It's
That's
so
gotta be
good.
it.
Yeah,
Literally
they did a really
everyone.
good job with that.
Okay, I'm gonna watch that again.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Anyways, Anth0z, without further ado, try your best. Go through a brief synopsis of this film. Let the audience know what it's about.
All right. After half of all life is snapped away by Thanos, the Avengers are left scattered and divided. Now with a way to reverse the damage, the Avengers and their allies must assemble once more and learn to put differences aside in order to work together and set things right. Along the way, the Avengers realize that sacrifices must be made as they prepare for
It
the
hurts to smile.
ultimate final showdown with Thanos,
My jaw. Oh.
which will result in the heroes fighting the biggest battle they have ever faced. Oh boy.
Oh, was that your 90s cartoon voice? Because that was like
not really
perfect.
sure.
It was perfect. Last time on Beast Wars.
That's kind of, that was my inspiration, so that probably was, yeah.
Slightly out of breath, like 90s cartoon host. Like,
Yeah.
Optimus Prime and his friends went off to
Slightly
fight the
constipated.
Predacons.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Well done, Anth0z.
Thank you.
Do you remember what it was like watching this film in theaters?
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, man.
What was it like?
It was probably like... Okay, it's weird to say, but it was probably the coolest movie experience I've ever had. And yeah, I can't not agree with the fact that Marvel Studios has really changed the movie-going experience. I'm sure there have always been people that really got into movies and in theaters would be loud and vocal about it. But I think to the extent of what Marvel has done, you know, getting people on board for a 22 movie franchise like that's a big step. And the reason why I say it was a really cool experience was because thinking about how much people reacted out loud to what was happening on screen, I didn't even get like the brunt of it, or I should say like what I experienced was so minimal compared to what a lot of other people experience on opening day in other theaters around the world. But in my theater, it was still full, and I just remember like the most kind of like intensity that I felt in like being one with the audience was in that last climactic battle, you know, just after Portals, when everybody came together and Captain America said the Avengers Assemble line. And then I'm pretty sure I mentioned this to you, but so in the movie, right after he says assemble, Thor yells, like he does like a battle cry, but I actually didn't hear the battle cry because people in the audience were yelling as like, you know, in support of Captain America yelling or saying Avengers Assemble.
Yeah.
And I remember in that moment feeling so good. It felt right, you know?
Well, that's good, man. If you can get the reaction in theaters, that is exactly what you want.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. I wish that I could have been there. I didn't actually watch it on an open day, but I wish that I had been able to watch it in a theater on opening day where there were way more people being so vocal about it. Because if you watch some YouTube videos where people react to Cap picking up Mjolnir and then also saying Avengers Assemble and people coming back during Portals, like there are a lot of really well-deserved feelings that we finally get to have after all this time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So when I saw this movie in theaters, I had very mixed feelings about this movie. There were parts I liked, and a lot of parts I didn't totally understand or get. Okay. I was definitely confused with the plot, and I was frustrated. I had a lot of frustrations with this film because it wasn't... Like, I guess I got it, but it wasn't a lot of what I wanted to watch.
Yeah.
So, I guess what I was expecting coming off of Infinity War, which was my favorite Marvel film I had ever seen, I really was expecting a lot more of Infinity War, and it's not what I got it. And I think I was so mad about that in the moment that it was so hard for me to enjoy the film as I saw it plummet further and further from what I was wanting out of Infinity War. The movie really goes into some different places than I was expecting.
Yeah.
now, retroactively, now watching it, luckily, I have a totally different opinion about this film.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I love it, but I definitely, it's a far cry from not liking this movie. It is a fun movie, for sure. Yeah. It is by far a very fun movie to watch. It misses the mark in a few places.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't end the series well. Like, it really does. I haven't seen a movie that ends a series like this, or even let's say even a series finale that ends a gigantic TV show. I haven't seen something this good in a long time. There's just a lot of things I think I would have wanted to be different.
Yeah.
That being said, like, good job on them, because I don't know how you write this to be perfect for everyone. So
exactly.
It's crazy how they did it, and you're right. That feeling at the end there when you're getting to that last battle, it's impossible not to have a smile on your face watching it. Even now, after you've already seen it, it's still fun. It's just awesome. Okay, moving forward, I got a quote for you to read. This is a quote that Iron Man says.
Okay. This time travel thing that we're going to try and pull it off tomorrow, it's got me scratching my head about the survivability of it all. But then again, that's the hero gig, right? Part of the journey is the end.
And it's so true. Iron Man, from the first movie to the very last, talking about the hero journey and the end. And I think that's a similar emotion to what I had with this movie, is that I was so frustrated that it's the end of something. So it's the heroes kind of working towards their own end. And it's not something I necessarily want to watch, which is, I think, why I'm frustrated. But at the same time, it's inevitable. It's what they have to do. It's part of being a hero, is getting to the end. So I think Iron Man, or Tony Stark, sums it up quite well. So
yeah, and he's the best one to do it, because in my opinion, I get after watching Endgame, knowing what happens with Iron Man and knowing that he is the one that he starts pretty much this whole MCU franchise, that he it's very fitting that he is the one who has been able to take us all the way through, and so he's the one who gets to have these lines that really describe what we're actually invested in, what we get to witness. So yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into our Act 1. which I just realized now I never named my acts. So there you go.
You
Act one.
named it. You named it a script.
Yeah, I did. I guess I forgot to name my acts, but that's fine by me. I'm just literally gonna call it Act 1. This movie has such like acts in it. This is just Avengers Endgame Act 1 to me. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's it's pretty appropriate. Like I think just Endgame kind of works across all, and also we did talk about before how it's like the possibility of seeing the two movies as one and seeing extended act structures. Yeah. Right. And I was thinking about it earlier today. Like it does kind of work that way to an extent, but then it still works a bit better as a standalone movie with its own set of act structures, I guess. But I called my Act 1 Agony.
Ooh. Yeah. It does feel like that. This act really just like hits you hard. It's a downward spiral, which I still think is hard to watch. I know they're doing it on purpose, but it's just it's hard to watch.
It is really hard to watch, but and it's one thing that I really appreciate that the Russo brothers with this movie, they really, really slowed down the pace of it, which I like because then I feel like it matches with what is actually happening to the characters and like what's happening on Earth. But like the agony when it's done right, I think like agony is not quick. It's agony because it's lasting.
Yeah. So it just keeps going on.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they try something, doesn't work out. They try something, it doesn't work out, and it's just like one thing after another, and then they learn to, or they have to kind of just move on and try to accept it. But that alone is still agonizing. So it's but it's otherwise like when would we ever see this for these characters? So I like that they really took the time to paint that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I got a scene here for us. I'll play Black Widow. You play Steve Rogers.
Okay. I saw a pod of whales when I was coming in over the bridge.
In the Hudson?
Fewer ships, cleaner water.
If you're about to tell me to look on the bright side, I'm about to hit you in the head with a peanut butter sandwich.
Sorry. Force of habit.
Yeah, see, again, it's so hard for me not to think about these moments when I was in theaters. And I was just like, wait, what? This is where we're going with this? Like, I guess I was just thinking, we're going to reverse time, and it's going to happen in the first act, and then we're going to meet up with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. All of a sudden, it's going to happen early. I kept thinking it was going to happen. And these scenes are happening, and as you explained with Agony, I was like, wait, what? Like, we're gonna mull in this? We're just gonna keep reveling in like the grossness of this world? I was like, oh no.
And I thought, I mean, this is just like a side tangent, but I also thought it was kind of very timely with what we're experiencing right now in life with the pandemic, because I towards I guess about a year, within the past year, considering that we've had lockdowns like kind of everywhere, we had some news about like whales coming into certain bays or certain parts of the water where they hadn't before, because boats aren't, well, I think now they're kind of back in business, but before, same thing, boats weren't moving around. I think in either China or Hong Kong there was less smoke in the air, so like the air looked better, I think, so things like that. So it just seemed like, really, it's interesting how they're almost experiencing like a similar kind of result as what we are actually living. So anyway,
the movie starts off with a very chilling first scene of Clint with his family. We haven't seen Clint in a little while now, so watching him teaching his daughter to shoot a bow, very similar to him. She shoots, she's got good aim. They've got this nice little back and forth with them. It's very touching. And suddenly out of nowhere, when he's, laughing with her, the wife is asking about hot dog condiments and all this. Suddenly out of nowhere, he looks and his daughter's missing. Yeah. And he starts shouting for his daughter, and he looks over and his whole family's actually missing. And it kind of ends with him on his own. And we as the audience know that his family has blipped, but he doesn't understand what's happening, and he's just kind of left to his own.
Yeah, I like how this whole scene is just silent. Like, there's no music. Yeah. We just hear them. We hear, like, whatever actions they're making, and that's it.
This is why you could cut this to Infinity War really well. Like, I would much rather... I think I would like Endgame better if it was actually Avengers, like, Infinity War extended or something, Where, like, we were watching, like, a 5-hour film or something instead of just Infinity War, then breaking it up with other films and coming back to Endgame. I don't like these as separate stories. But if this was the middle of Endgame, I think I would actually enjoy it so much more. It makes sense to me here. Then it's slowing down. Then it's getting into all the gravitas of what's actually happening. I think that's way better. But since it's its own movie, like you said earlier, the act structure is kind of... they're just strange. The whole movie is in a different pace altogether than what you're expecting.
Yeah.
It's just very different.
It is.
But yeah. So yeah, and just Clint being left alone with the quietness here. It's very instantly mood setting.
Yeah, it's haunting.
Yeah, as we then move into Tony and Nebula, who are also alone and adrift in space. Try to open with a little bit of a joke, and they're playing like a little bit of that football game with the paper ball that you flick and all that. Tony's just kind of trying to keep himself entertained as he's here with Nebula. I was realizing in the moment that I guess Nebula doesn't need to eat, so she's not really withering away while Tony is. But isn't that kind of weird? Because in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, is she not trying to eat some kind of yam or some kind of fruit that's not yet ripe?
Yeah, I feel like it's... I mean, I don't think it was out of, like, to sustain. I think it was just because.
That's so weird, then. That makes the joke
Maybe?
even worse in Guardians 2, which was already a bad joke anyway. So, like...
And she's like... I can't remember what... I feel like
It's
she
not
mentioned
right.
the percentage. She's like 80%, like, robotic or something.
Does she need to maybe eat some food at some point, maybe?
Maybe? I don't
Who
know.
knows?
Does she even have a digestive system?
I
Actually,
don't
you know
know.
what? She probably doesn't really, because she was taken apart... Like, she's pulled apart in all these different ways,
exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
I don't... yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah. Regardless, Tony does a kind of last message to Pepper, which is really touching, and it harkens back to like the scene of when he leaves Earth for the first time, and Pepper's trying to talk to him and tell him not to leave space, and he's kind of just doing it because it's the hero's way.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like the love letter or the bookend to his Infinity War. Pepper talking to him. This is him talking back to Pepper, leaving her one final message.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's definitely it's mood setting. It's really sad. I feel for Tony in this moment, and you kind of think like, oh man, is Tony gonna die like at the beginning of the movie? Like this is like I was really thinking like, because the time stones are gonna get involved in some way, or at least time travel will get involved in some way, or at least that's where my mind is going. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, they might kill him. They might kill him off, and then they can just reverse time and then bring him back. You know, that's what my mind was thinking.
Yeah.
Now watching him go there is such a harsh thing to show on screen, and yeah, it was sad. And then you get to obviously the mystery woman who comes in out of nowhere, the basking sun of light that he looks up to, and this is hopefully some kind of last survival for him.
Yeah, and there was a lot of speculation beforehand that there was going to be an Avenger that was going to die, and I think a lot of people were guessing, I guess between like Iron Man, Captain America, more like the bigger
definitely
heavy
thought
hitter
Cap.
guys, so I guess in a way this was supposed to kind of like propel people into thinking like, oh, you know, he's almost there. He looks like he's struggling. Like how much longer is he gonna last, sort of thing.
Yeah, Captain America to me was the sacrificial character out of all these characters, so I definitely thought he was going to die. It made the most sense for him to die since he had the most, like, he doesn't have a lot that he's leaving behind other than his message and his stoicism, you know? So when he dies, he passes on his shield, and his shield carries on the ideas of Captain America, right? So he's very sacrificial. Everything he wants is already dead, essentially. So
the shield has his ideas. It's like written down. Like he's
yeah,
got his lines written on the inside of his shield.
I can do this all day. Yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
He's got instructions like, okay, jump and then kick, and then that's how you beat Captain America.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Smile and wave. So it's actually Captain Marvel that is saving Tony. She is bringing them back to the new Avengers HQ. And she is bringing the ship back onto the ground, and Stark gets to reunite with the Avengers as well as Pepper, who gets to now know that he's still alive and still okay. Really chilling here. He's like, again, this whole thing is just chilling, but like he's just so skinny and just like so decrepit and weak looking, and it's not a good scene for Tony.
No, it's not a good look for you, buddy.
No, it's not a bad look for my guy Tony.
Yeah.
But I do love the scene when instantly Captain America goes to him, and Tony just like looks at him like he screwed up. Like he's just like, I lost the kid. It's like, I lost the kid. I lost the boy. Like he's dead. And then like Tony or Steve just instantly is just like, we all lost. You know, he's like we all screwed up here. This is absolutely not your fault. You know.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
nice. It's nice to see Tony in this moment where his concern is about letting down a boy, like letting down a kid.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, of all people, it's not like we've ever seen him like super attached to anybody in that kind of way, except for probably like Pepper.
Yeah.
And in other ways, it's always been like, oh, you know, like we'll figure it out or something. But this one is like he's truly defeated, and it's just because of this relationship that he's got with this kid, and he let him die or let him disintegrate basically. And so I like that we have like we get this layer to see from Tony like instantly, where he's just like that's what's on his mind. Yeah.
When they're reunited, the group essentially discusses and argues over tactics on what they should do next, and if Thanos is still out there, how they can find Thanos. Essentially, it breaks down to Nebula knowing where Thanos would have gone if this went correct, and she knows essentially where he is at this moment.
Yeah.
And after a lot of this and that, and finger pointing, and then saying what we can't do and all that, they decide, you know what, let's just head down to that planet and see where Thanos is. So they all decide to go to space. Hands up if you've ever been to space. I like how, like, it is interesting that it's like, oh, a lot of these people have not been to space. Okay, interesting. Like,
yeah.
I like Rocket being in this kind of leadership-like role. It's interesting to see Rocket without Quill. It's not what I was expecting, but it's interesting.
I like seeing him in this this environment, like with the Avengers, basically, like with this kind of group.
He's like
dynamic.
helpful. Like in these moments, he's actually like a helpful character, and it's not what you're expecting out of him.
That's right. Yeah, I guess because like he for what he's lost in the Guardians of the Galaxy, now he's just you know, they're all showing just different kind of colors while they're in this defeated position.
And I extremely appreciate his nods and comments towards Quill. He mentions Quill a few times with his lines, where it's like, okay, so many times that they have butted heads as who's the leader, and in this moment when he's lost Quill, all he's talking about are good things about Peter, you know? It's interesting. It's like, okay, so he obviously looks up to Quill, and he's just never said it, kind of thing. So
physically and also emotionally.
Definitely physically. Looks up to everyone. So they head off to, I don't actually know what the name of this planet is. I tried to search it up, but they just kind of talked about the garden being where Thanos is, but they don't talk about like the planet he's on. I couldn't really see that.
Oh, I see.
So they head off to this place to go essentially destroy Thanos. They find him hanging out in his little garden area that we saw at the end of Infinity War. And then he quickly tells them, as they find out after they kind of like capture him, that he used the stones to destroy the stones. Which I don't know why, but that line of dialogue is so fun to me. That's so good. Like, I use the stones to destroy the stones. Like that, it sounds like Lord of the Rings to me. It's so cool. Like,
I don't know.
There's a lot of like weird power behind that line. Like, he used the stones to destroy themselves. And then he says like it nearly killed me.
Yeah,
like that's so cool.
Yeah, and he did it to remove temptation.
Yeah.
So it's I like that. Okay, so there's one thing I want to say about this movie in terms of Thanos versus Infinity War, because Infinity War, what I took from it was they're trying to paint it as, you know, get on some sort of level to understand where Thanos is coming from, understand his convictions, understand his passion and his somewhat love that the way he sees it for Gamora and like all those kind of things, his fatherly kind of mentality. In this one, I feel so much more I see Thanos so much more of a threat, and that's not just because we get to see him more physically, because he's obviously like in more combat in this movie that that looks more threatening, because he's got his armor, he's got his big like he's building his like double.
Well, he's a very different Thanos in this movie.
It's a different Thanos. It's a younger Thanos in a way, just by like a few years, I guess. but in terms of being able to see him as a combat, as a tactician,
his motivations are also just different.
His motivations are different, but like I feel like the convictions behind and like the way that his brain is working behind everything, to me it's actually so much more threatening, because he's able to see very clearly with a short amount of time what's happening and what he needs to do to get on top of it.
Yeah.
And it's not that we didn't really see that in Infinity War. I'm sure we did, but I think we see so much more of it in this one, that I feel like he's so much more menacing, especially when scenes where he knows what needs to happen, and then he sits or he like waits or something, or he like he's got everything in place, and he can take his time or whatever. So I enjoy so much more of what we get from Thanos in this movie than Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to agree to disagree with you on that one, but
Sure. Of course.
I do enjoy the Thanos we get at the beginning of the movie here. I think I like this Thanos here is much more subdued, compassionate, and slower. That like he's just done at this moment. Essentially, they don't know what to do because this is not what they're expecting, so they just kill him because they're like, you're evil, and they chop off his head.
Yeah.
This is all I wrote. Thor kills Thanos, nothing has changed, and everyone leaves upset. I think that pretty much sums up the whole scene there. Like, that's really all that happens. Like, they just kill him, you know? What Nebula says, like, my father has never been a liar kind of thing, which I love that line. I think it's really well done. Mm-hmm. And they realize, okay, well, there's nothing more to be done. So they kill him, and then they realize that changes nothing. So everyone's just like, well, dang, that sucks. And they go home.
Mm-hmm.
I like that scene. I think it's interesting. It's a huge shocker at the beginning of the film. Ooh, villain's dead. Done. Everything that you hated about Infinity Wars, the character you hated the most or directed your anger towards just dies at the beginning of this film immediately. Now, obviously, we get a different Thanos later on, but in my opinion, that's one of the largest flaws of this film is that I don't feel the same hatred or compassion to hurt or kill the Thanos in this movie because it's not the same Thanos. It's a different person, and this is where time travel gets really confusing for me. Time travel itself is just a confusing concept, but when there's two different people from different time periods, I don't see them as a younger version or as like the same version but with different motivations. I see it as two different characters, like twins that have the same look and physical appearance but are different people altogether. Right. So the Thanos we get later on is a different Thanos in my opinion, which is why I feel like a little bit of it's like a subverted anger. So it's strange for me. And we get that with not just Thanos, but a few other characters later on.
Yeah,
but anyways,
that's true. Yeah. So the thing with time travel stuff, like I feel like it's a pretty known thing just across like whatever movie you talk about, that time travel has to be established in that movie so that people understand how it's going to be used. So for this one, they talk about it a little bit later on, before they actually start time traveling. And but the scene with the Ancient One and Hulk, I guess would explain it best. That you, based on the logic that they provide, that you're right, that the Thanos from before is different from the Thanos that they killed in the beginning, because even though Thanos in like when they go to the future or when they go to the past, whatever Thanos is there is supposed to grow up to be the one that ends up getting killed at the beginning, but because they remove the stones, he effectively becomes a Thanos that grows in a different timeline. So he is, in my opinion, based on that logic, he should ultimately be a different Thanos. So it makes sense to say that like your emotions that are geared towards a Thanos is the one that is dead from the beginning, but not the one that we end up seeing for the majority of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
After they kill Thanos and everyone leaves upset, we're smacked with a 5 years later text, which is just heart-wrenching the first time you see that. Like, 5 years is so long. That's just like, you're not expecting 5 years to have gone by. So it's 5 years, and then your mind is thinking like, okay, well, like, how far did they get to solving this? And it starts off with just like Ant-Man coming back from the quantum realm and seeing that the world is just destroyed. And you're like, wait, what? Like, so Earth is just not really, like, I don't know. It makes sense, but it's just awful. It's such a world that you're not expecting.
Yeah, we see them trying to just find ways to continue life. Like Captain America is doing the whole rehab session, and then one of the directors, Joe Russo, has a cameo as one of the guys in that scene. Yeah, which is kind of cool. And it's just we're really getting a sense of like they are doing whatever it is that they can to keep going, but there's really not much that they can do.
Yeah, good scene with Cap too. I mean, he's got a long history of like being in support groups. So I actually kind of like that now he's in a support group for grief of people that have gone through like a natural disaster. Right. It's quite interesting, and I like that they can still find modern day issues that they can throw a person from the past into to still be there to help people. Yeah, in his stoic kind of way. So I do like that.
Which was previously seen by Falcon, because Sam was the one who was doing that in what's the Civil War?
No, it was Winter Soldier.
Oh, that's right, Winter Soldier. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I like the scenes with Ant-Man. It's actually pretty good because it gets quite emotional. Like, Paul Rudd's doing a pretty good job of just, starting off like what's going on, and then he's like you there, boy, what time is it? Like, what year is it?
He's not just being Paul Rudd. He's actually being
he's
like
being
a guy
Scrooge.
he's being a character in the movie. Like that's
when he goes to the stones. Sorry, the monoliths, I guess, and he's looking for the names, and he's looking for Cassie's name. Yeah. It's such a real emotion that it's just like it just hits you hard. You know, he's just instantly looking for this name. And when he sees his own name, it's like, oh man, like, I don't know, it's crazy. And then I just thought about this parallel a little bit later on when I was writing these notes, is that when he reunites with his daughter, I realized that he has the exact opposite story to Clint at the beginning. So Clint is with his family having a great moment and loses all of his family, including his daughter. Ant-Man comes back from blipping, essentially. I guess not really blipping, but sort of. From this place, comes back 5 years later to find that his family is kind of... or is there, you know, like he finds his family, he's reunited with them, and I was like, whoa, it's the same thing, and it comes into this moment of him with his daughter, and I was like, oh, interesting, they're both like father-daughter stories, but just like played in reverse, like it's crazy. Yeah,
that's true. Good point.
So I like that, and I really like the acting of Paul Rudd when he sees Cassie, and like you can see, like he's a great actor, but like normally he's just having fun. Yeah. But you can see in that moment, like, they got their money's worth out of this actor playing Ant-Man. It's like he sees his daughter, she's way older, he doesn't know what to say. And you can see the emotion in his eyes, and then he just says, like, you're all grown up or something, right? He just says something. Yeah, you're so big, and then they hug. That's like, oh my god, it's so good. I really like that scene.
Also, that girl does such a good job of like first scene in this movie, first time she's in any of these movies, and like that's her first scene. She comes shocked and starts crying like first thing. Like whoa.
Yeah. Nah, it's really good. I gotta give props. That whole returning of Ant-Man I thought was really well done. It actually makes Ant-Man seem like a real character. So
I like how Ken Jeong was just like randomly the security guy.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, they almost get all of the cast of Community in like the Avengers movies. It's pretty funny. Almost, yeah. They had it like in I don't want to go through all of them, I guess, but they had Abed, who was in like I think Avengers, or maybe he was in Winter Soldier actually, and then they had the Dean was in like Civil War, and then they had
and Donald Glover was in Spider-Man.
Donald Glover obviously in Spider-Man. Then they had Shirley was in. Is it this movie?
Endgame. This one.
Yeah, it's in this one. She's in. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So they almost got them all. What's funny is the guy who plays Jeff was actually in Spider-Man 2 back with Tobey Maguire. He's at the bank and he's helping Aunt May get out like a bank loan.
Interesting.
It's really funny. It's like when I was watching it, I was like, oh, weird. It's Jeff. Anyways, so after that, at Avengers HQ, we have the scene that we talked about where now Captain America is trying to console Black Widow. I keep writing Romanoff down, and then I never remember who Romanoff is. So Black Widow, after she's gone through a briefing of the missions from all the new leaders, which is like, is it? I was gonna say Bucky, but no, it's not Bucky. It's what's his name? Rhodey. Rhodey, Rocket, Captain Marvel,
and
Okoye. Yeah, and they're like the leaders that seem to be trying to keep the peace, I guess, around the world. Yeah. And Black Widow's getting a briefing from them. She finds out about Clint and how he's still doing his Clint-like thing off in Tokyo and like fighting off a bunch of rival Triad members or something.
He's being Ronin or something.
Yeah.
I think he actually has some sort of name in the comics where he is that, or
I think there's a whole comic book line I think that does that. Yeah, and they were paying homage to it. So she's upset by this, and Captain America comes to console her for this whole thing. So while they're talking and Captain America's trying to do his best job of like, let's keep our spirits high kind of thing. Scott Lang comes out of there in the most like weird, like wrenching scene of emotion. Scott Lang is suddenly like, hey guys, it's Ant-Man.
Like, open the door.
Yeah. I do like that they're confused. Like, is this 5 years ago? Like they're trying to look at the footage kind of thing. She's like, no, this is live. Like that's a really smart take, because like it could have been just a video footage of 5 years ago, right? And then it's not that amazing of a thing.
And then I can't not get this out of my head. This happens every time I watch the scene. But when Captain America asks, like, is this old or new? Or is this an old footage or old video? Yeah. And I keep thinking of Monica when she gets that missed call from...
is it old or new? Is it old or new?
Yeah, old or new? Old or new? I can't not hear it.
Good point. Now I'm going to hear it. So Lang comes in and he informs them all about the quantum realm and how he was in there for the last 5 years, and they go, wow, blah, 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 5 years. And he goes, yeah, but that's just it. I was only in there for like 5 seconds. And they're like, oh, wow.
Like, what do you mean?
And I don't mean to disparage this movie, but of course, it's like, okay, so he was in this realm for 5 seconds, so that must mean that time travel is available somehow.
Yeah.
By the magic of these movies, time travel's there, and the only man who can figure this out is Tony Stark. So we head off to Tony Stark at his lakefront home.
Yeah.
I do love this. This is probably my favorite Tony ever. Is like the subdued Tony who's become a dad, who's like got responsibility. He's like a good father, you know. Like I don't know. This is like this is literally Tony's Endgame, and I know they do it on purpose, but it's just nice to see.
I looked at this as sort of like, well, a couple things. One, he almost looks like he's living a parallel life to Thanos. Like after Thanos did his work and he moved on, so he's just like out in the country. Yeah, just living his life.
Got a few tips from Thanos' cabin. It's like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm gonna have a kid too, and But then the other thing is that he's living his life like he's accepted it, and he's not trying to do anything to change it. He's not trying to do anything to like make life better. Life for him is good as is. Whereas like everybody from the Avengers, they're just still doing whatever they can to like maintain or just see if they can improve or like whatever.
Well, Tony in the past as well, Tony would constantly be improving, right, with his suits and always tinkering. And now it seems like he's not. He's looking at what was Pepper reading like about compost or like garden
composting.
Soils? Yeah, so composting. It's like okay, cool. So they're working on like such average things in the eyes of someone like Tony.
Yeah,
Stark.
they're just humanized, right?
Yeah, and I love that. I think it's cool. I'm sure he has thrown some awesome. Well, he obviously has thrown some awesome Stark tech into it with his. He's got like a table there that just like shows all of his like crazy tech and stuff. He doesn't have a computer. This guy doesn't use a computer. He uses like the Stark OS and like has it like integrated into his house. But still, it's very cool. I like this whole scene. I love how he's like, he pretty much hears like, oh, time travel? Yeah, no, that's not happening. And then he pretty much tells him like, you can stay for lunch, but you can't talk shop. I love that. That's such a good line. It sticks with me. It's like, yeah, you can stay for lunch, but you can't talk shop. So like now you're gonna have like all these heroes over. They're all gonna eat like grilled cheese sandwiches and just talk about what? What are they gonna talk about?
They talk about the grilled cheese sandwiches and compare them to the shawarmas that they had like 8 years ago.
Is he gonna talk about like the lake in front of him and be like, oh yeah, there's carp in there? So
I took Morgan fishing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want to see that side. Whatever happened there. So they all head out, kind of sad and defeated that Tony didn't want to solve their problems of time travel. Then they seek out Banner Hulk, which is another...
Bulk.
This is... I'm not going to complain about this. It's just... Yeah, it's still not what I enjoy about the Hulk by watching Banner and the Hulk as one now. It's still not what I enjoy about the Hulk. And you know my thoughts about Infinity War, where I really did not enjoy watching Bruce Banner the whole time.
Yeah.
But I will say this is better. So I enjoy Hulk more in this movie than I did in Infinity War. But it's still, none of this is still an enjoyable Hulk / Bruce Banner for me compared to what I would want to see out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Bless you. Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
So it's fun. There's some funny moments. I like when the kids come up and want his autograph, and he's like, yeah.
And then they don't want Ant-Man's autograph.
Yeah, then Ant-Man's. Like, the joke lingers a little too long, I think, but it's still not bad. It's okay. I don't think that Mark Ruffalo is doing a terrible job in these scenes. I think he's actually doing pretty good. It's just, I don't know. I like the nerdy Professor Banner, you know, who's like really nerdy and like able to do a bunch of stuff, and then it just hulks out and turns into a crazy Hulk. I want a Jekyll and Hyde experience, and this is just not him harnessing it. Sure, it's interesting, it's cool that he's able to figure this out, but finding like a happy balance in the middle is not really what I was looking for.
Yeah, and I don't think it is really a happy balance either, because the Bruce Banner character we know is kind of more of like a very timid character. The Hulk is it's just rage and anger, right? So what is the balance of those two? I don't think it's a lighthearted comedic or trying to be comedic animated kind of character, right? So you're right. I think the character of the Hulk that we see, I mean, it's great he figured out the way to like fuse both and try to get the best of both worlds, but then I don't think the personality behind it is reminiscent of either Hulk or Banner.
Right.
So that to me is what really doesn't fit. Like it's almost like the confidence behind what he was able to produce made him more lighthearted and just decided to be like, I don't know, just like lighthearted all the time and happy-go-lucky. But it seems like a very odd. It's almost like denial, but maybe it's not. It's just
I
also,
kind of agree with that. I like that denial. Yeah.
yeah. Sure. Okay, we'll go with it.
I like it. And it's hard to put to words why it frustrates me, but I think he did a pretty good job.
Cool.
While they're talking about this whole radiation thing with him, he explains how it could be possible, yada, 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 and how he might help them and all this stuff. Then it shows Tony, who's tinkering at night, and we're talking about the Stark OS. And he's kind of just tinkering with an idea about time travel. And you can tell that he pretty much knows already it's going to work, but he doesn't want it to work. So he's like, just run the simulation, you know, and if it doesn't work, whatever, just throw it out. You know, I don't actually even need to see if this works kind of thing, even though he's like still curious.
Yeah. I want to talk about his motivation though. Like, so yeah, he has so much more to lose now, obviously, with like Pepper and Morgan and like what they have, but there's still something. So Tony, I guess throughout the MCU has always been somebody who held on to things, and what he held on to is usually what propelled him to take some sort of action, right? So there's a moment where he's washing the dishes and there's a picture frame of his dad, but he looks past it and looks at the picture with him and Peter Parker. And that is the scene just before he decides to tinker around. So the motivation behind what we first saw him when he returned to Earth about like how he lost the kid, and then now seeing the picture of him together and remembering like what he what he had and then what he lost. I think I like how this is kind of the motivator for him to actually say like, well, let's just give it a shot. Let's see what happens. You know, at least for the sake of the kid, right? Like, yeah. So I like that it's kind of a continual motivation or motivational factor. Like he's a father to Morgan, but he's also kind of got this like father-son relationship going on with Peter, like trying to bring him up as, I see him as bringing up as like the next Iron Man, in a way. Like smart kid,
I think definitely he's grooming him to be just like him. Essentially, he knows he probably sees himself in him, obviously. So
exactly.
I love Tony in these scenes, and I think he's very relatable. Watching him do this whole tinkering thing, while I find it hilarious that it's like, sure, Tony Stark overnight comes up with the idea of time travel. At the same time, I love the idea that this is I mean, Sherlock Holmes is also a really ridiculous character, also played by Robert Downey Jr., but is also a ridiculous character, but it's so much fun to watch. And I find him really realistic in these moments, and I really relate to his character, so I like it. And I like Pepper kind of being the one to tell him, you know, like you can do this. This is the kind of person that I've always tried to stop you from being, and yet you inevitably be that person anyways, because that's who you are. And then he's just kind of like, you're right, like he's just that kind of a person who's able to figure out these kinds of things to help everybody. So that's just what makes him.
And then Morgan loves him 3,000.
I love that. I love you 3,000.
Yeah,
good
which
line
is
there,
so 3,000 is the, for those who don't know, 3,000 is like the amount of minutes, like the total running time of all the movies put together of all the MCU.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, so that's what
I
it
didn't know that.
So
wow.
Every once in a while they'll put some sort of like factoid that relates to something about the production, right? I think they put a lot of Easter eggs in there, but yeah, 3,000 is supposed to relate to the total running time of all minutes in, I think, just including Endgame. I'm not sure about anything more.
Well, Endgame is like exactly 3 hours. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. So again, lovely scenes. I like Tony. I like the whole scenes. I like how it's done. I like everything that happens with him and Peter there. And just a side note, while we carry on here, because this is something I noticed, and this is something I now enjoy about the movies. When I saw these in theaters, I was annoyed with the direction of where it's going, the slower pace and all that. What I realized now, and I don't know why it took me so long, when I realized on the second watch was to do what I'll call the series finale, because it's like watching a gigantic TV show. To do the series finale, what they did is they brought it right back to its roots. And I'll pretend, just for the sake of my analogy, that Avengers was the series opener. That was like the premiere of the whole show. So what they did in the series finale is they brought it right back to its roots to be like, here's our core Avengers. Now let's break them down and make this movie about them. And now, retroactively, watching all these movies and coming back up to this final movie, I actually appreciate it. I'm like, okay, I'm glad you took some time to tell me more about Tony. Tell me more about Black Widow. Tell me more about Clint. Tell me more about Bruce. Tell me more about Captain America. You know, and it's like, okay, wow, I get it. Now when we're doing that little circle scene of seeing the Avengers in the first Avengers movie, we have way more context to all these characters in this movie, because we've seen them go through so much heartache to get to this moment in time.
That's true.
So I really do appreciate it now watching this movie going, oh, okay, I get what you're doing. You're bringing us back to the core Avengers, then allowing everything we've known to love come back into the fray. Mm-hmm. And I can't complain with that. My favorite character is still Captain America, who was like the first Avenger. So I really can't complain.
Yeah. I also want to mention, the scene that you were just talking about before with Pepper and Tony about how he solves it, and she's saying like she's never been able to stop him. And then the last question she asks him is, would you be able to rest? And,
yes.
And I find that it's kind of like, it's sort of like a foreshadowing thought of, as a parallel of Tony to Thanos, knowing that Thanos in the previous movie did his work and then rest, so that he could rest. Like, he even used the words like, I'll finally rest and watch a, like, with Grateful Universe kind of thing.
Yeah, Grateful Universe, yeah.
And then, and the resolution for Thanos is after he rests, he dies, right? I mean, we don't see that until the beginning of this movie, but I felt that was kind of a foreshadowing for Tony, that he'll do his job, then he can rest, and then he'll die. So that was just, I might be looking too much into it, but I kind of feel like, I'll bring this up throughout this podcast, but I feel like there are a lot of moments where it's really pointing to Tony as the one who is going to like finish out the arc, and he's the one that's going to be like putting it all out there, leaving everything behind, and so that he's allowed to die. He is the one to die because he was able to reach that, like he completed his arc basically.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think they make Tony's arc, like full arc from the whole series, quite clear in this movie. Mm-hmm. He even reiterates back when we were talking about him being weak and meeting the Avengers again. He reiterates like the fear he had of Thanos. This was the thing that kept driving his motivation throughout all the films, going all the way back to like even Iron Man 2. It's Thanos that has been constantly driving his motivation and fear of trying to create a shield around the world, right? So it's interesting how it all comes back to his main motivations of constantly trying to improve and protect the world. Yeah. And like you said, so now he's chilling and he's relaxing and he's just having a good life and enjoying what life is. But then again, like you said, with Pepper saying, but will you rest or could you rest? It's so true. Like he couldn't actually rest until he knew everyone was safe. Which is, as we'll get to the end of the film, that's why the end of the film is actually, it hit me a lot harder this time watching it, because the lines made way more sense to me now that I understood the context. So. Okay. Yeah. Anyways,
just watch it like 5 more times, you'll be on my level.
So, there is a comedic scene where Bruce Banner is trying to use his gamma radiation technology thing on Scott Lang. Scott Lang turns into a baby, and then he turns into like young Scott, then baby Scott, then elderly Scott, then back to regular Scott. Yeah. Like I get that it's funny, but at the same time my mind's also like, did you get him back to the same year? Like same day? Like did you get him back to the right Scott, you know? And I'm like my mind's like, are you a few years off? Like how do you even know? Right. I'm like worried.
Well, I guess if he comes back, because he should be aware. Like he's the one that's most aware of the timing. So I feel like if he's not complaining, then should be fine. I guess.
If it works, could he just could you make me a little bit younger, like 10 years younger?
Right.
Might be nice. I love how Tony arrives and is talking to Steve, and he's like, "I did it, came up with time travel kind of thing." And Steve's just like, when he's asking Steve how the time travel's going, he's like, did he turn to a baby?
Yeah, he knows exactly. He just
knew right away.
Yeah.
And I also love the explanation because it makes like zero sense to me, but also it just like explains everything at the same time. Where it's like, instead of like using time travel, he says time travel went through you. Like he's like
instead of going through time, you put time go through you.
Yeah. It's another one of those lines like the stones use the stones to destroy the stones. It's another one of those like impactful lines. It's just kind of like, it's so boggling to the mind, I guess.
It is, but it also explains a lot at the same time. Like, it's kind of necessary to explain like, wait, why was that happening, right?
Yeah, when you can do little snippets like that, I really appreciate that. The one ring to rule them all. Done.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't like this cut. It instantly cuts to the Avengers after they reunite there to Banner, or the Hulk, I guess, and Rocket heading off to Norway. And they play like a Guardians song, because they got this like Guardians vibe to it, because now it's Rocket and Thor heading off to go Rocket and Banner going off to go find Thor. So they play this like my little ship, rocket.
That's right,
ship, and then it's like Bruce in like huddled up in the little truck with
in the
Rocket
back of the
kind of thing.
pickup truck. Yeah.
I was even saying to my fiance at the moment, I was like, couldn't he have just ran next to the truck? Like, why did he have to sit in the truck? He weighs so much. Like, it's so much weight for this truck to carry him. What if he just picked up Rocket and just ran there?
I mean, they could have jumped. Like, he
Yeah.
could jump there in like 2 jumps.
I
Yeah.
get that the scene's kind of funny seeing him sit there, but I don't know. It just didn't really make too much sense to me. And I also didn't like that they tried to do a Guardians reference. It felt like a misplaced Guardians reference. It was kind of strange.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like they're trying to add in Guardians things, but they didn't know where to add it in, so that was the scene they were going to do it.
Right. I mean, it also wasn't them like approaching any of the Guardians, right? It's to approach Thor and people from like Ragnarok characters. So, I mean, I guess that could be why they didn't really, because if it was truly going to be a Guardian setup, I feel like they would have gone with something more like, I don't know, what genre is the music that they listen to, like 80s pop or something.
I don't know. It actually, what's really strange, to take this way further than it needs to go, is this song actually cuts in right when Hulk is passing the 2 tacos to Scott, and it's because Nebula came down in the ship, which is technically Guardians, sure. So she comes down in her ship, and then that knocks out the tacos, into which case then Hulk hands 2 tacos, but now you're playing this like Guardians theme song when you're looking at Hulk and Scott, and then it cuts to Hulk and Rocket, and they're heading off to thing. And again, it's a transition song, but it was like that's never how Guardians music has ever worked in the past. So
yeah, it was kind of
strange.
weird. Like, why do we need to see Ant-Man putting together a taco and then losing it because everybody's arriving? It's kind of weird.
I know. And I don't want to nitpick a whole bunch of this movie, but there are just little scenes that I'm like, why in such a huge movie like this? I just don't know why these things happen. I swear, Endgame is like Infinity War, is like almost flawless when it comes to like awkward transitions or like scenes that don't need to be there. It's almost flawless because that movie just dialed to 11 the whole time. Yeah. This movie, since it takes its time, there's unfortunately a few scenes where I'm like, why is this here? But yeah, the taco thing is a little weird to me. But anyways, it's fine. We move on pretty quick.
Sure.
Then we get to probably, again, I'm not trying to dunk on this movie, but probably my least favorite scene in this whole movie. Meeting up with Thor
me too.
is so frustrating. I don't find fat Thor funny, but that's fine. If you want to make him fat, that's not a problem to me. Because it is interesting that he's going through depression. There's a lot he's going through, and him getting fat is fine.
Yeah.
But him and Korg playing Fortnite is like...
And like threatening kids across the world.
Yeah, it's just so misplaced, I feel, in this universe. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, half the world blipped. It looks like Last of Us out there, and people are still playing Fortnite? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's so jarring emotionally to me, right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, 5 years from now, nobody's going to be playing Fortnite anyway, so... Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, it seemed like technology and stuff was all... probably not as far advanced as it was. Maybe people are playing Fortnite. I don't know, but it just seems so strange. It didn't fit. It seemed like it was trying to be a pop culture reference that's unfortunately going to date the movie now for like ever. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
so I also didn't like the scene. It was probably one of my most least favorite scene.
Yeah, and also Thor itself, just his acting in the scene is coming off as like annoying. He's very just like standoffish, and like when I think it's Bruce mentions Thanos, and then like Korg's like, oh, we don't say that here. It's like I don't know. I know you're trying to make it seem like impressive, like saying Voldemort and Harry Potter or something like that, but it doesn't work. Like it just, Thor comes off like a child in an annoying way, not a child in like I want to help you way. So I don't know.
That's right. Yeah. Probably would have made more sense if, like, upon hearing his name, he like slammed his fist into a wall or something.
Yeah.
Like he's still holding anger, rather than just like beating himself up over. Because that's what he's doing, right? Like he's basically just he's bringing himself down.
Yeah.
Rather than like putting all the hate towards the one who actually causes to you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just everything is self-inflicted, which is, I think that's the odd thing about this scene and seeing Thor. That it just doesn't seem like self-infliction. Is that the word? Yeah, self-infliction is what would be the result of Thor at this point, based on what we know of Thor, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember lots of people talking about Fat Thor in general, like as a funny thing in this movie. I don't remember people quoting or talking about scenes with Thor in this movie. And I think it's a pretty good indication of the fact that in this movie, a lot of the jokes with him miss. But what was entertaining was the fact that he was fat. So I think they didn't have to do as much with lines or scenes with him. They just needed to show how depressed he was. That was about it. Again, show, not tell. So the telling made it worse.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, they meet up with Thor. They talk about this whole thing. Valkyrie talks about how he's not a very good leader. They try to get him to recruit back to them and help them with this whole time travel mission. Black Widow also heads off to Tokyo to go find Clint. This is where you mentioned, Ronan? Was that his name?
Ronan, yeah.
Oh, Ronan.
I think Ronan is actually like, I don't know for sure, but it might be like a Japanese term for a.
I was about to say the same thing.
It's like a rogue ninja. Is that what it is?
I was gonna say it's like a version of a samurai almost, but it's something like that. But I don't actually know what it is. I don't want to search it up because I'm just gonna screw it up probably.
A wandering samurai who had no lord or master.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. Exactly. Like almost no allegiance. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So he goes on a killing spree, kills some Japanese yakuza, and then holds Black Widow's hand.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Widow is like, "Hey, come home, Clint." And he's like, "Okay."
Okay. But let me readjust my gloves.
Although I will admit, as much as I didn't necessarily like these scenes in theaters, it is nice to see these two united again as friends because they, after rewatching all these films, they have been quite friendly the whole time, and like you do actually start to see them as actual friends after a while, especially here. It's like, okay, yes, they've been through like everything. They're just good friends.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Banner and Stark, they complete the whole assembly of the new quantum tunnel thing. It's kind of a Stark version now of the quantum tunnel. I love how Ant-Man is so prominent in this movie. It's like all of the Ant-Man tech is now redone as Stark tech. So we now have a bunch of people set up in like, even their suits and costumes are now like Ant-Man tech. Which is
it's
why...
Ant-Man design, but it's still Stark nanotech.
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah, but it's almost like the blending of the two, which is why I think it's criminal that Michael Douglas doesn't come into this movie to do like an Ant-Man thing. Like, why is the actual Ant-Man not here to help Tony with like Ant-Man like things? I know you can easily say that Tony is smart enough to figure all this out. But could they not have just had a very small scene of just him in the background being like, "Oh, Tony, it's better if you do it this way," and then Tony looks and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's right," and then just like does it, just something small, and then we would have been like, "Sweet, Ant-Man helping out,"
Yeah.
Hank Pym.
Otherwise, we get a very oddly looking de-ageified Michael Douglas later on in the movie when they go back in time.
Very very strange one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I do like that it's all cool looking Stark version of all the Ant-Man stuff, and then they test out with Clint a little let's go back in the past. Clint goes back in the past and sees his family. I don't know why, but he instantly tries to break the rules of time travel.
Well, he was obviously emotional from the start, right? Like he
was the wrong person to pick for this.
He's
for
definitely
sure.
the wrong one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they go into this whole rant about what time travel is based on movies that they've watched, and so I feel like this is definitely.
This is for the audience.
It's for the audience. Yeah, it's probably also like a bit elongated because I don't think we don't need them to argue so much just to decide to establish like what the rules of travel are, especially once later on we talk about like with Hulk and the Ancient One, we talk about like what happens. Yeah. Like when you change time and you create the new timelines, right? Like I don't know. I think we didn't need to have so much of that, and it could also be another one of those like show don't tell. Like we learn once it happens, and because eventually like something's gonna happen, they go back in time, they screw up, and that could have also been an evident time to show like, oh crap, well this is what happens now because
like Clint had changed his hair. A really quick thing they could have done is somehow by taking that baseball glove, maybe his hair grew back longer or something, and then he's like, what? Oh yeah, and then Tony would have been like, what did you do? And he's like, got the glove. And he's like, oh. He's like, yeah, even something as small as taking a glove, like, things will change for the future. Then Clint will be like, oh, Jesus. Like, they could have easily shown, not tell. But it's a good thing Peter Parker wasn't there for that scene, because it would have been even worse for movie references. So, that's where I ended Act 1.
Where did I... no, it's Tokyo Ronin. Oh,
because I felt like the momentum starts after this when I start talking about the stones, so...
Oh, I see. I actually started my Act 2 just before I established how MCU is doing fine travel. But I meant to say time travel.
Fine time travel.
Fine. Yeah, this is very fine traveling. So I started my Act 2 just before they started talking about establishing that.
Okay.
just looking at my notes. Oh, I was just talking about how, yeah, I like that they slowed down, let it sink in, how they were defeated, but they're trying to continue life. Yeah, so I really liked that about the first act. It was, I more or less like enjoyed the pacing of it just to show like how much struggle that they're going through just to stay sane, I guess, 5 years later. Anyway, so yeah, what's your Act 2 title?
I didn't title it, so mine's Endgame Act 2.
Right, okay. My Act 2 is That's Not a Thing! And it's because of like what they're trying to figure out. Like, I think they're realizing like, oh, that's not how it works, this isn't how it works. And
that's like a moment in the Force Awakens. Is it the Force Awakens? Yeah, Force Awakens, where suddenly like Finn's like, we'll use the Force. And then Han Solo's like, that's not how the Force works.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of the good moments of that movie. Right. Yeah, okay. We have a scene between Nat and Clint. I'll play Nat. You play Clint.
Okay.
If we don't get that stone, billions of people stay dead.
And I guess we both know who it's got to be.
I guess we do.
I'm starting to think we mean different people here, Natasha.
For the last 5 years, I've been trying to do one thing. Get to right here. That's all it's been about. Bringing everybody back.
Don't you get all decent on me now.
What, you think I want to do it? I'm trying to save your life, you idiot.
Yeah, well, I don't want you to. How's that? Natasha, you know what I've done. You know what I've become.
Well, I don't judge people on their worst mistakes.
Maybe you should.
You didn't.
You're a pain in my ass, you know that? Okay, you win. Tell my family I love them.
Tell them yourself. Yeah, we'll get to that scene. All right, so the Avengers recall their past with the stones. Everybody in this room has had some kind of personal connection with one of these stones. I thought that was actually kind of cool. Didn't see that coming. Realizing all the people that were alive. Never even thought about the fact that they're all connected by every single one of them has one connection to the stone. So, kind of smart. I like that. I really like the genius here of splitting all the stones into 3 different teams. I like when Nat's just like, wait, if we go back to New York at one time, 3 stones are there all at once. I love that. That's so smart.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, really, really good stuff. This is where the movie starts to pick up for me. Lots of good momentum. Again, first act, I see it in a new light now, and I like it better, but it's definitely my least favorite part of the movie. It starts low, the middle part has momentum, and it ends on a high note. So this movie just goes way up, which is why I think it would be better as an extended part to Infinity War, because then it would be like a nice dip in the middle and then go way back up again. But
yeah, for sure.
Anyways, regardless, so I love the momentum that starts to happen with this scene.
Yeah, and I think all of these scenes, or while they're discussing and putting the teams together, like it's strictly for the audience, like just to kind of like, hey,
remember this?
Remember
this?
Yeah.
Do you remember how this works? The only one that is super hard to watch is Thor trying to explain about the ether. That is
I know.
I know they're trying to do a joke with the dude and like the Big Lebowski reference, but it just misses the boat and it lingers for way too long. When he's like, Jane Foster, ooh, Jane, lovely Jane, ooh, I dated Jane, blah, blah, and you're just like, dude, move on, like.
Yeah. And
I mean, move on in dialogue, like.
We've already had enough of like him being
fat,
all like, and just like childish and It
would have been funnier is if like somebody was like, "Do you think Thor's up to it?" And like then Cap would be like, "Thor, you up to it?" And it like cuts to him and he's just still like emotionally distraught and he's like in the corner, but he just is staring straight and not talking. And then Cap would be like, "Yeah, I think he's fine." Like, I think that would be better. You would get the idea. Probably, he's depressed.
Yeah, that's right. Show don't tell. We don't need his lines. Yes. We just need to see him.
Yes, exactly. Right. It would have been better that way.
Yeah, just like exactly that scene where they want to ask like about his. It's just before they ask him about the ether, and then they do that like long shot of him, and he's just like staring straight at the camera with the sunglasses on, and Rhodey's like, I think he's dead. Like, scenes like I think stuff like that just make way more sense.
Yeah, just keep it as that. He doesn't need to talk.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, he was a great actor in Infinity War. He was distraught, and he was going through a lot of emotional stuff in that movie. And he used it to fuel his revenge, right? And it was really intense. Even like you used other characters to show how distraught he was. When Rocket was like, "Oh, okay, I gotta figure this one out because this guy's going a little bit crazy on me." You get it, right? But in this movie, it was just so blah. Would have been great if Cap pulled him out of the funk. I think Cap would have been a good character to be a leader for him. But that's probably my bias. Anyways, moving out of this, the people split into teams, and they head on their merry little way. We start with New York in 2012. We get the recreation of the Avengers scene with the circling around and all that. We get an awesome moment where the new Avengers land, and they get to see the old Avengers kind of breaking down New York. They see Hulk taking out a bunch of the Chitauri aliens. Yeah. Apparently, I heard this... can't remember where I heard this. Maybe I heard it from you, I actually can't remember. They didn't have the 3D model of the Hulk anymore. Oh, I think it was the CGI guys on YouTube. Corridor Crew. So they didn't have the 3D Hulk model that they used for the original Avengers movie. So they had to use a rendering from, I think it was Unity, like from a video game. So they had to use like a rendering for like a video game for the Avengers or something like that. And they had to use that for their Hulk rendering in this. So it's actually like an authentic Hulk rendering redoing that of like something mimicking the Hulk from the original Avengers, which is really crazy.
Whoa, what the...
So not only are they looking at like old personality of Hulk, you're actually looking at like an old 3D render of the Hulk as well, which is kind of funny. So
that's kind of cool. Yeah, that was definitely not me that told you that. I would not have...
Okay, it must have been Corridor Crew.
Definitely Corridor Crew.
So yeah, they all land there in New York. Banner heads out to go see the Ancient One, which we were talking about. This is where we get into the timeline discussion with the Ancient One. Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. I kind of wish we get more of just like the Ancient One imparting...
She's such a good character. I wish she didn't die. She's so good.
She's a great character. I think of all people to meet with like the Hulk, especially in his state, I think it's really cool. Yeah. And for her to be able to push him into like the
astral plane.
Is it the mirror? Is it the mirror? Oh, is it astral plane?
She just knocks him into his astral form, I guess.
Astral form. Yeah. So yeah. But I don't know. Like I feel like
they put the Hulk lying down the sun with the sun hat on. I love that little touch.
Yeah, so this is... I like this scene. I like the interaction between the two of them.
I love really cool. the... Oh, no, I lost it. Oh, no, I love the line where he's like, I'm looking for Doctor Strange. And she's like, oh, I'm afraid you've come a little bit too early. I just love that. And it's like, you know so much. Like...
Yeah.
Because I really like Doctor Strange. And the more I watch these movies, the more I realize he's such a heavy hitter as a character. But it's also because of her that he's such a heavy hitter, right? Like, she really bolsters up his storyline. And I would love somehow for her to return in the Doctor Strange sequel. I really hope she does somehow.
Multiverse of Madness, or is it Multiverse of Madness?
I think it's Multiverse.
Universe of Madness.
No, I think it's Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. And I really hope she returns because she is so much fun in those movies. I'm so glad we got to see her here. Just another glimpse of it. I know I'm not alone just thinking that she was like one of the best characters in all the MCU. She's just really fun to watch. She's a great actress too. So
she's phenomenal.
Yeah, anyways, so yeah, I like the whole scene of the timeline breakdown. It cleared up a few things for timelines for me, and this movie made a bit more sense this time watching it. I was lost the first time in theaters, but I got it a bit better this time with the timeline stuff.
Okay.
While that's happening, Stark and Scott Lang are heading off to the Avengers Tower, and they want to retrieve the Tesseract. So they are using... Stark just like flicks him. All right, Stark, just flick me.
Yeah.
Love it. Just kind of like sits out there, his booty in the air. Just flick me. And just flicks him and he's flying. Yeah. That's pretty good. Flicks him off to go then cause a cardiac arrest, essentially, in the original Tony Stark in the 2012 scene. I do like how we're also poking fun at the original Avengers movie. Like it's a great thing to do as a series finale is harking back to your roots, what you're doing, and like all these characters playing their original characters. That's just such a fun take too. Yeah, so I like those moments. And
then we get to see more of Loki. Again,
yeah, I know.
Because otherwise we wouldn't have gotten
sorely missed. Another great MCU character that I would love to just see more screen time, which obviously we will later on this year. So that's really exciting. As Tony tries to escape with the Tesseract, he gets hit in the face with Hulk, who's escaping out the elevator because he didn't.
Yeah.
Wait. Is this? Yeah, this is.
No, out of the stairwell.
Out of the stairwell. Sorry. Yeah. And when that happens, Loki ends up stealing the Tesseract and then just kind of morphing through a portal and is gone. Yeah. I don't know if this leads into the Loki TV show, but that's my assumption. This is the Loki that moves into the Loki TV show.
It must be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if you wrote it in, but before this was actually the scene where we see so Thor is getting the ether and he's with Rocket and like has the moment where he's
I
sees
have
his
it a
mom
little
and, like,
later on,
runs
but
away.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then we also get Morag, like the scene where what is it? So Rhodey and Nebula.
Right. I think I've split these off just based on what the teams do, but I didn't.
Oh, I see.
I probably
Okay.
didn't go in the order of the movie. I just kind of went. I get all this from the MCU Universe Online wiki, and yeah, it probably at this moment split it into what the teams did. So yeah, I might not be going in the specific order here.
Oh, okay,
So I think it
that's fine.
splits them a little bit throughout the movie, anyways. Yeah, so I'm probably just disregarding the splits.
Okay.
Yeah. So while this whole Tesseract thing is going on, Loki escapes with the Tesseract. Steve Rogers happens to be off there trying to get Loki's staff. When he gets the staff, there's an awesome scene where he is going down the elevator, similar to how he does in Winter Soldier, and there's all the Hydra members in the elevator, and they're looking at him, and it's just that great moment where he's got the briefcase, and you're thinking, oh no, he's going to have to fight his way out this elevator.
It's going to be another elevator fight. Yeah,
him leaning over and saying, "Hail Hydra," is just, even when I was mad at this movie in the theaters, I loved the line, I loved the moment, it was great. Just well done.
Yeah, well, I loved it too. I think it's a really nice setup for making you think that it's gonna happen again, and like, oh, what are we gonna see? Because like this isn't the same moment where he was in the elevator the first time.
No, different,
right?
Yeah, still Crossbones though, who's there, but yeah,
still Crossbones. This is earlier than what would have taken or than what did take place in the elevator scene because Sitwell's in here and Anyway, yeah. So I really like how they, I don't know what the, maybe it's a misdirect or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but it was just like it's a bit of a tease, and then psych, this is actually what happens. But it's so well done.
It also shows you how much he's developed as a character too. He's like totally willing to just play the other side just so he can get out of there. Like so, it was very manipulative and great. And to further show that contrast, he then has to fight himself a little bit further on here. Thinking that
face your enemies, face yourself.
I love how like the old Steve thinks that it's Loki. He's like, I've located Loki. Totally makes sense. That's what he thinks it is. Just Loki trying to be him.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the fight. I like I can do this all day. And then he's just sort of like, oh,
I know.
It's well done. It pokes fun at all the perfect things of poking fun of Steve Rogers 4. I even like the ending where he's like, that is America's ass. He just like walks away like it's so great. I can't help but just like Steve Rogers' character.
Because otherwise we don't really get to have that kind of fun with that character, right? Because like he's always stoic because of who he's around, right? And like his character, the characteristic of being stoic is contrasted by all the other characters that aren't as confident. They're not as altruistic, like all those kind of things. So when faced with himself, then there's no contrast. So it's more entertaining to see when like what it feels like to be the person who's always like, oh, Captain America, like blah blah blah, like that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So when you get to see Captain America feel that, it's a little bit more fun.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a fun scene.
I also forgot to mention, actually, when Tony was taking the briefcase with the Tesseract, originally the older Tony was, we actually get a really good cameo of the character from Winter Soldier, who was the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., who's now coming in to take that briefcase away. And it's crazy how they were able to tie in so much stuff, where at the moment we didn't know about it, because these movies were kind of coming out after a few years or so, and you're trying to figure out the storyline as it all goes past. This movie does a really good job of like connecting it all with like subtle things here. Like here's Crossbones in like one scene. There's the guy, the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the other scene, but this is the Avengers movie, and this is Stark Tower kind of thing. You're like, oh wow, like it's just all connected. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very.
So there's the Steve Rogers fight. Tony and Lang have to tell Steve that they lost the stone, unfortunately. But Tony and Steve instantly come up with this idea of going to Camp Lehigh. Is this the original camp where Steve Rogers was from?
I'm pretty sure.
I couldn't remember if this was the same camp or not, but I think it is, but I wasn't too sure.
I think so. Okay. Yeah, I didn't.
So it's the same one that has the bunker as well, where they eventually Steve and Scarlet Witch go to. No, oh my gosh, Steve and Black Widow go to in Winter Soldier. Yeah, same camp they go to, and they meet Doctor, whatever his name was. I can't remember his name. Anyways,
Zoloff.
Yeah, Zoloff. Yeah, thank you. Anyways, so yes, simultaneously to all this happening, Thor and Rocket have headed off to Asgard, and they are there to grab the ether. the ether, which is just an interesting red substance. Thor is reunited with his mother during all this. He's very depressive and annoying. But there is a great scene between him and his mom. Now, I do feel like we were robbed a bit of an Odin scene here that should / could have happened. Although, to counterbalance that, Loki and Thor were extremely affected by their mother's death, and this happens in Dark World, which so many people hate that movie. But there's some great moments of Thor and Loki being so distraught about their mother dying. So it's great that he gets to reunite with her here. So
yeah, that's true.
So I like that.
Yeah, because she wasn't really in the first Thor movie.
She's a little bit in the first Thor movie, yeah.
Just a little bit, right? But
it is Dark World where she has a bit more screen time.
Yeah. And I don't know if they revealed before, but she mentioned how like she can tell that he's not the right Thor because like she's trained by witches and stuff like that. So we're kind of getting a little.
I love that side of her too. You can see this like a wicked side to her. It's really nice. It's a good little line.
Yeah, I mean she's also a good fighter tue.
Oh,
She pretty much could have killed Malekith, had it not been for the secondary person that came in or whatever at the time. Yeah.
I liked how she was like the straw that broke the camel's back for Thor. She's helping him get onto the right path. I also like the little catch of, I'll just take my hammer. It does make me wonder about the timeline though, because I'm like, wait, he took Mjolnir from this world, and then in Dark World, doesn't he need that hammer to like help his mom after she gets stabbed, and then he goes and he kills a bunch of people right after that moment with his hammer, but he's not going to have that hammer anymore because he took the hammer.
Yeah, so effectively he's ruined the timeline.
Yeah, unless he's going to go back with Cap and replace his hammer exactly to when he took the hammer.
Well, the thing is, Cap actually goes back with in the end of the movie, he goes back with Mjolnir.
Oh, does he?
And yeah, he's holding it.
Oh, I didn't know that. So maybe he does.
So he does. When he comes back, he only comes back with the shield.
You're right. Okay.
Technically, he probably did return.
I didn't realize that Cap went back with Mjolnir. I didn't notice that fact. Because when Thor took Mjolnir, I was like, that's weird. Okay.
I think the oddity is that we should be effectively seeing something different happening after.
No, but
like when they return the present time, that should effectively be changed in some way, or I guess like
if Cap is always going to return Mjolnir though. Nothing will change if Cap inevitably.
So I guess that's why, because it happens. So
it's actually a common. Here's a time travel mystery for you. If you ever want to know that you are able to travel or time travel at all in your life ever, if you're even curious about it mildly, then you can just force of will tell yourself that you'll come back to this exact moment. This is the moment you'll come back, and you'll have a little piece of paper or something, and you'll write down, you'll put it in a drawer right next to you here, and this is the moment where you're going to discover. Just tell yourself that, and just be very determined that this is the moment that you're going to do that, so that you can discover that you will at some point time travel. Then open up that drawer, and there'll be no piece of paper, and you'll realize, oh, I guess I'll never time travel in life then. It's a really quick way to understand.
Oh, I see. Yeah. To understand that you won't ever time travel
in life.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint, but you'll find out real quick that you'll never ever discover time travel in your lifetime.
I was gonna try it right after we finish this podcast, but okay. I guess
Go
I
for
won't.
it. It's very
there's
disappointing.
No point now. You've proven to me that there's no point.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so yes. The whole Asgard scene, yada yada. Nebula and Rhodey, they split off from Natasha and Clint when they all get to Morag, because they want more egg. Natasha,
who doesn't?
Everyone likes more egg. Rhodey and Nebula head for the Power Stone. When they get here, they have to watch. What's his name?
Quill.
Yeah, Peter Quill doing his song and dance.
Star-Lord. Who?
Another really good little nod to their movies and stuff. I do like this whole moment. It's fun to watch it again. I love how
they cut out the headphones version music, so we hear what everybody else would be hearing outside of what Quill hears. And it's just him singing off tune and it's great.
I really like when they get into that little temple and he's like, haven't you seen Temple of Doom, like Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Because the funny joke there is that like that whole temple scene with Chris Pratt is totally like an homage to Indiana Jones originally, right? Yeah. So it's fun to see them like even joking about it. A person from Earth now talking about the reference. So I like that. I really like how Nebula just throws her hand right into the beams, and it shows you the power of those beams. So Quill had to use some kind of magnetic device to get the Power Stone to come out of the beams, which shows you his ingenuity. But then with Nebula, you can see just her just force of will to just grab the thing and just not care about losing a hand. It also harkens to an awesome reference between her and Rhodey, how the fact that they both are technically cybernetically enhanced, which is an interesting connection between two characters.
I really like... Okay, but wait, sorry. Before I get to that, the moment where she reaches in reminds me of the Will Smith movie I, Robot. I don't know if you ever saw it, but towards the end, I forgot what the robot's name is, but the one that, like, the good robot.
Roby.
Ruby?
Roby the robot.
Roby robot. So he has to go in and, like, reach through some sort of lasers to either shut off the or, like, take out some sort of, like, battery to, like, power down the whole computer or something like that. And that robot was made of different material from the other robots, titanium alloy. And so he was able to reach in and, like, the outer layer burned off, but the inner, like, actual structure still maintained.
Right.
So he was able to grab it. So it just reminded me of that. But
yeah.
Anyways, what I really like about the scenes with pretty much every single scene with Nebula, it's a different kind of like emotional growth or some sort of growth that she gets to have with, like, every character. Just about, like, in the beginning, it's with Tony. She's starting to feel some sort of sense of, like she said, I enjoyed that, or I had fun.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, you're right.
It's like very robotic, but she's kind of letting herself be less.
Good
Thanos,
point. It's the best Nebula we've ever seen, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and then where's the when she's with Rhodey and Rhodey says, "Yeah, me too." Like, she realizes, like, oh, she's not the only one.
Yeah.
Like, other people are going through what she's going. And she she looks at him for a little bit, right?
Good point.
She talks about she meets with the earlier Gamora and tells her about, like, how, like, you know, we become sisters.
She's the one now convincing Gamora that they are compatible sisters.
Yeah.
Like,
so she has some sort of cool, like, there's like little steps of growth in each interaction, and I really
and I guess they do it as well because they do the contrast with her with old Nebula, as we start to find out, as she now exists in this time period. Since she's AI, for some reason, like, if you had two Wi-Fi connected devices, she's now connecting to her other self that's in this time period, and they're both kind of existing in the same universe, so they're both kind of sharing, I guess, thoughts, possibly, which is it's kind of making her project her thoughts from now onto her older self, which happens to be around a dun Mr. Thanosio.
Thanosio, yeah. It's all because she's on 5G and 2.4G at the same time.
I know. It's all the G's.
Yeah.
She's got massive G's.
She got mad G's.
Yeah. So while this is happening, Thanos is now aware of the plan, essentially. And this is, like you were saying earlier, this is showing how smart Thanos is as a villain. And it is very terrifying to see the villain see, like, a video recording. Like I actually just joked about, like, about how, you know, time travel will never happen in your existence because if you looked in a drawer and you wouldn't see the note. Well, imagine the reverse of that. If you did see the note, and instead of you going, oh wow, I'm going to do time travel, you actually knew a different course of action you were going to take that's going to make your life even better. And that's the kind of mentality that Thanos has. He sees this video recording and instantly goes, oh, okay, I already did succeed, but these people are trying to screw it up, so I'm going to ruin their lives. Like, he instantly pieces that together in, like, 2 seconds, and it is so menacing. It's crazy.
Yeah, very terrifying, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So Steve and Tony head to Camp Lahai. Lahai! Live, and Steve goes and grabs the Pym particles, which I know people have said this many times. Are there not, like, a lot of Pym particles there?
Back then?
No, sorry. When he grabs them, there's more, like, in the background. There's, like, a lot of Pym particles in the cabinet.
Looks like there's a lot.
You could argue he can't take them all, otherwise Hank Pym's gonna notice. But if he grabbed just one more, now please correct me if I'm wrong here. If he grabbed just, like, well, maybe 2 more, I guess. Could he not save Black Widow later on in the movie? Could he not go back when he puts the stone back and then save Black Widow and take her with him?
But then what happens to the timeline where she had to be dead for them to get the stones in the first place?
Well, I guess, how does he return the stone how does he return the Soul Stone?
I guess maybe he just hands it to Red Skull.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor. Not to scratch, Doctor.
Yeah, I guess that must be it, because otherwise, yeah, how could you... Maybe he just, like, he walks up to the cliff and just throws it.
Could you imagine
Just
Captain
chucks it.
America seeing Red Skull again and being like, hey, I got the stone.
Yeah.
Captain America. Hello. Like, oh my god. Anyways, yeah, I don't know, but I just felt like, a couple more Pym particles, just in case we lose someone, just anyone of note along the way, then they could go back in time and save them again if they needed to.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm not really sure. That's probably, like... I feel like the whole gaps with time travel thing would be, like, a whole other episode.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm thinking, I like just how we talked about the interaction with Cap meeting Red Skull again. I wish, okay, you know how like
another
like
movie
Jackie
where
Chan
we saw
movies
this?
they used to do like, well, no, okay, you know how Jackie Chan movies used to do like bloopers
Oh,
at the end of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Like I kind of wish they did. We've seen some bloopers for MCU stuff,
Yeah.
I'm sure
Oh, yeah,
before,
yeah.
but like it's not like tagged to the end of the movie. I kind of wish they did some sort of like blooper reel where it's Cap actually like the interactions of him returning
all the
everything, but
stones.
it's like it's failing or something.
Yeah.
And just I think that'd be pretty
That
funny.
would be hilarious if he had to keep returning, using more Pym particles, going back in time and fixing his mistakes.
yeah.
Somebody probably has
Yeah.
made a comic out there of like all the different versions of him going and returning the stones and just the hilarious things that ensued when he's trying to return
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cat probably like stayed back in time because of how embarrassed he was, because of how much he screwed up.
It's like, okay, no, I can't
I
go
screwed
back.
up. You know what?
Yeah.
Screw it. I'm just gonna throw these
Yeah.
stones in the Hudson River and just go back and live my life.
Yeah. Hey, Peggy. Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, after that, he grabs the Pym particles. Tony gets to grab the Tesseract and then reunites with his dad, which is interesting
Yeah.
parallel with Thor reuniting with his mom, Tony now reuniting with his dad. This is a great moment
Yeah.
because you get to see Tony's full arc already coming out here. He
Yeah.
was so motivated by the animosity or the not living up to expectations of his father in the previous films to eventually accepting the fact that his father might have been a better version of what he thought it was, to then eventually finding out that his father was murdered by Captain America's friend, and the way they were murdered was just so brutal and didn't need to happen, and then here getting to actually see his father again and having a moment where he gets to meet or actually give his father advice. It's
Yeah.
such a crazy
Yeah.
like turnaround for him where he's now had a kid and he's meeting his father who has not yet had a kid. And Tony's like, oh my god, I can help you? Like, it's so strange to him. But it's just such a great, like, character growth moment for him to talk to his own dad there. I'm surprised he didn't say, like, Tony's a good name.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah.
They almost went to that,
Yeah. It is really nice to see these moments with Tony. I think now that we see him more of the father, like that father type role, or the one who is trying to motivate for the sake of others, right? Like we're seeing that more and more. So the fact that he gets to have this moment where he can reconcile, because we know like he always had reservations about what his dad really thought about him, and then he slowly kind of revealing like, oh, he was doing things for me. I just never really saw
Yeah.
it. But now he gets to actually have this confirmation that what's the line he says? Gee, I can't tell you, like my kid's not even born, but I wouldn't do anything for them or something like that, or for him.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah. There's
yeah,
nothing I wouldn't do for that kid.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice that Tony gets to have these moments, and that we get to witness it after all that he's been
just
through.
as much
Yeah,
as
for
Steve
sure.
needs to have a moment where he sees Peggy Carter. If he's going to be in that time period, it would be a crime not to have that moment, and he does, and
Yeah.
it's great. But just as much as Steve has that moment, you also got to give Tony a moment with his dad, and it's so great. The two of them have great moments there. I only wish we saw a little bit more maybe of these two things. I don't know how much.
Although
Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead. No, you.
Oh, okay. I don't know how much more you can do with Steve and Peggy. But I'm sure
Yeah.
there could have been something maybe. But maybe even a cameo of Tommy Lee Jones coming in for a second. Oh, that'd be great.
Ooh.
But anyways, but still, Tony and his dad is also just really well done, and I was really involved with these scenes here in the movie. So.
Yeah. Although I think the scene where Cap is staring at Peggy like just through the window is kind of odd.
It's
like,
so obvious that he's there.
How would you not notice that somebody?
She's supposed to be someone who's so like
so
observant, and it's like, how does she not see him? He's just like right there. And like, can you imagine the hilarious scene where she just looks over and goes like, Steve? And then he's just sort of like, oh,
and then runs and dives behind the desk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just running around.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, Steve, jeez. But no, it was good though. I'm glad he got to have that moment. And it obviously reminds the audience that he has this want, this desire, this thing outside of his own time, which is a man out of time
that he has had to leave behind.
Yeah. So good. Anyways, after all this, Romanoff, our Black Widow, and Clint, Hawkeye, are heading off to go meet up with Elrond and go get the Soul Stone. We get a recreation of the scene we already saw with Thanos and Gamora from the past. Somebody has to sacrifice themselves for the stone. Both characters love each other, so either can die and the stone will appear for the other one. So now we just have a interesting scene where they both try to sacrifice themselves for the stone. I can't help but feel like it's played out. I'm sure to some people out there this scene is really emotional and like distraught, and like they cry every time they see this scene. But by the time like the second person now stops the person from like committing suicide and they want to go commit suicide, I'm already like over it. I'm just like, it's too slow for me. It's not horrible, it's just too slow. If they could just speed the scene up a little bit more, I think it would have hit harder. But just since they did it too much, I'm not as emotionally hit. Once she goes down, I go, okay, fine. Okay, there we go. Okay, somebody has made the choice. All right. Because either one could have died, and it would have been hit the same way emotionally. So.
I agree that, it would have been nice if this one was not as drawn out. Although, I can say that in the theater, I guess because watching it for the first time, there's a lot of anticipation of, like, who's it going to be? And then, usually for scenes like this, when I feel about it, like, watching it subsequent times, is that it normally would feel like it's longer and longer and longer. For some reason, these scenes, like, they're shorter than I remember, which I think in a way is a good thing because, overall the interaction, it still is very drawn out. Like, there's way too much back and forth, way too much, like, deliberating. And I
don't mind the lines. It's the actions that I think get a little bit too drawn out.
Yeah. I mean, like, they're just using, like, their full-on arsenal just to stop each other. Yeah. And it just that seems a bit much.
Yeah, to the point where Clint just full on jumps. Or no, is it? I'm sorry. Does Black Widow full on jump and Clint just like shoots like either her?
So she's like So so first, the order is Clint pins her down, and then she turns it over, throws him down, and she shocks him. Then she starts running. Then he gets up and shoots a blast arrow that stops her just before she even gets to the edge. And so she's kind of down, and then he runs in slow motion and then dives. And then as he's mid-air, she jumps and dives to catch him. And then she throws out her batarang. And then they end up like as they hit like the edge of the cliff or like the side of the cliff, she like rigs the thing so that it's attached to him and not her.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so she's hanging below him and he can't like reach over because I don't know, the way that the thing is rigged.
I can't help but feel things like when he's holding her hand and she's like, just let me go. I'm like, dude, if one of you was gonna die, like, wouldn't you have rather have just jumped and got it off like a Band-Aid, you know? But now you're like holding her, and she's like, okay, now I'm thinking about it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't really want to die, you know? Like all these moments, it's like, oh, jeez. And also, I was like, what if they both they came so close to both of them dying and no one getting the stone? That's true. Like,
yeah, like what if they both fell and then like Red Skull gets the stone?
I guess. Time for Red Skull to appear.
Or the stone just ends up like floating in that water. Where they all end up,
just
like afterwards,
it's
bobbing up and down. A fish comes by and just eats it.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows who could have held it? There is a Marvel What If coming out. This is the What If I want to see.
Yeah, right.
What if they both foolishly
died? What if Cap
didn't
return any stones?
Captain failed at returning any of the stones. Anyways, the Avengers all return back to the New Avengers HQ with the stones in hand, and Natasha is noticeably missing. This is a good scene. Everyone is hit hard by this, whereas Nat and Clint is distraught, obviously, and everyone's just kind of like, oh my god, we lost someone on this trip. I'm actually a little bit shocked that that's all they lost. It's a pretty risky trip. They returned with all the stones, for one. That's already number one shocker. They actually succeeded in everyone to return with stones. Good job. And then they only lost one member. Good mission, you know? Yeah. Not our best, but pretty good.
That's true.
Yeah. Obviously sucks that Nat dies. They have like a small funeral for her. Just kind of more of like a revenge fest than a funeral.
I mean, is it really?
It's like
I don't think they really do a
It's kind of like a stand on a dock and mourn her and talk about how we can't let it be in vain. That's more about all it is. I feel bad for Scarlett Johansson in that moment more than anyone.
Yeah, she got shafted. Yeah.
Apparently she actually dealt with a little bit of depression because of that too. Because like she didn't want to be done with the MCU stuff, and her character dying was just hit her really hard apparently.
Oh wow.
I don't blame her. I mean, after being in these movies for so long, and like it's a shocking kind of death, and apparently nobody had read the full script except for Robert Downey Jr. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, so there was a lot of like mystery to this kind of movie, and so her death was, hit her hard. But I mean, she's got a movie coming out soon, anyways. It's not like she's done.
Yeah, maybe we'll even see some stuff happen. No, I guess we wouldn't see.
There's always potential for her to still be alive. Pin particles.
Yep.
Pin particles.
Yeah, get the stones all over again. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Nebula opens up the quantum tunnel during this moment because it turns out that Nebula is now old Nebula, not new Nebula. So again, this is my whole argument about these are two different characters. These are not the same character. This is a different Nebula. So when I look at this Nebula, I don't feel anything that I feel about the new Nebula. It's just a different person altogether. Opens up the quantum tunnel, allows Thanos to enter. Dun, 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 dun. Hulk then harnesses these new stones in this new like Iron Man Hulkbuster kind of armor thing. He says that he can wield it. He mentions some of gamma radiation. He's like, I'm made of gamma, and that apparently explains why he can wield the stones. I don't get it. I'm made of gamma, therefore stone me. It's
right. I think what does he say? Like the stones react on some sort of like gamma ray level or whatever.
Yeah, so, but I don't buy that he's at all.
But then at the same time, like so is Captain America.
Yeah,
like, they're both
exactly.
So
just, the stones are made of their molecular structure is made up of gamma. Really? These universal stones that started the whole universe are made up of the molecular structure of gamma? No, I don't get it. Anyways, it was just a line to make Hulk make more sense, you know.
Or just to use him in more ways because otherwise, effectively, he doesn't do as much as he normally does.
Exactly. So he does the snap. Everyone's going does this work. I really like the subtle touch of the birds that are chirping and coming back.
Yeah,
that's really nice. Apparently, they removed a lot of birds in any of the scenes where they've shown the snap, and they were trying to remove sound effects a lot to try to show that there's half the life depleted. So birds coming back is a really good way to do that, I think.
Yeah. So I end my act 2 just after he snaps. So in between the snap and like when he kind of like wakes up or whatever is like.
Oh, okay.
Basically, basically, snap is my end.
Oh, okay. Then I'll stop because I have a few more sentences, but that's also technically where I stop it. But okay. Let's move on to Act 3 then. Into Act 3.
All right.
I'm gonna say out of the frying pan into the fire. That's what mine's called.
Okay, sure. Mine is Thanos assemble snap. So
Thanos assemble.
It's supposed to be kind of like snap crackle pop.
Oh yeah.
But rather it's Thanos assemble snap.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
You play Sam Wilson, I'll play old Steve Rogers.
Okay. Cap?
Hi, Sam.
So, did something go wrong, or did something go right?
Well, after I put the stones back, I thought, maybe I'll try some of that life Tony was telling me to get.
How'd that work out for you?
It was beautiful.
I'm happy for you.
Thank
Truly.
you. Thank you.
Only thing bumming me out is the fact that I have to live in a world without Captain America.
Oh, that reminds me. Try it on. How does it feel?
Like it's someone else's.
It isn't.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
That's why it's yours.
You want to tell me about her?
No, I don't think I will.
And one of the best memes ever. Just I don't think I will.
I love that.
This movie is like meme fuel. There's so many good memes that have come out of this. Like I see this as an absolute win. Like that's another meme that comes from this too. But the no, I don't think I will is the biggest troll meme ever. I love it. It's just got such a good smile on his face.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, moving on down the line. Snappity snap. Yeah, so this is where Clint gets a phone call from his wife, who I can only assume is on the phone saying like, Clint, where am I? Where are you?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And he's going like, honey, just don't panic. It's 5 years in the future.
Just explaining everything. I like how when he picks it up, like he says hi, and then he just makes a sound because he can't like think of anything else to say.
Yeah.
Also, okay, I'm curious. Maybe you can explain it to me because I'm not entirely sure how this works. But you know, like later on when they come back from the portals, Peter is saying to Tony how like they all of a sudden they were back in like or wherever they were from, and then Doctor Strange said, "Oh, we need to be somewhere," and so he gathered everybody up.
Yeah.
So were they all supposed to be like? They all returned to where they originally were when they got blipped, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then somehow Doctor Strange was just able to contact everybody just in that time, no matter where they were.
I guess. I don't know.
Because I'm just trying to picture.
It's the end of the
like,
movie, man.
Why...
They just wanted to end the movie.
Yeah. Because I was just trying to picture like why Hawkeye's wife, or I should say Clint's wife, was able to just like call right away. So I guess obviously she had her phone, but then...
Does he have the same cell phone too? Like, he has the same cell phone he did while being Ronin. He always had the same cell phone still? Just in case his wife calls?
Also, wouldn't her plan be over?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Whatever. Then Scott goes and looks out at the pretty birds, and then he gets slapped in the face with the missile.
Yeah, and shrinks immediately,
which
looks like he didn't do it on purpose. I think it was just like a reaction that his suit did.
I guess I'll give the movie that Scott gets hit with the missile, and yes, sure, his suit reacts. I will not give the movie that they get hit with like a nuke and no one dies.
And they all survive? Yeah.
The worst you get is Rocket is pinned by some rubble. That's like the worst thing that happens to them.
And Rhodey can't like move his suit, it seems like.
Yeah.
Canopy.
Yeah, that's his safe word.
Yeah.
So, in one of the creepier scenes of the people trying to wake up is Clint waking up. When he wakes up from the rubble, he's then chased by the Outriders, or whatever those aliens are from Infinity War.
Is that what they're called?
Apparently,
okay.
according to the MCU thing.
All right.
But yeah, creepy. It was really creepy. I was like, oh wow, he just gets hit with a missile, just wakes up, and then he's chased by these things. And again, it shows off Clint's arsenal really well. He gets so many cool moments, starting with even the first Avengers movie, where you get to see how, yes, he's a guy that shoots arrows, but he's got so many cool tools with him to like get away from this kind of stuff. So even though he's like barely escaping these Outrider things, he's still handling his own. So good on him.
He's got a flashlight. He's got trip mines. He's got another like Gatling gun, and he's got a sword.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the sword. Yeah. The sword's a good fit for him too. I actually like that.
Yeah. It'd be cool if he could attach the sword to his bow. So he holds his bow.
Just shoot the bow.
And then shoot the sword. Like, well, sure. I mean, like, no, the sword is, so when he's wielding the bow, he can swing it like the sword. And,
well, now that I think the movie is actually missing a little bit of a sword arrow shot. That would have been kind of fun. Speaking of swords, Gamora then frees Nebula. So she is convinced by Nebula, like you said before, that they should be sisters, or are sisters, or
they become sisters. They become friends.
You are my sister. Yeah. And then they go off to find the other Nebula. This Nebula is kind of given a pass by Clint really quick. I know you.
Yeah.
What does he give her again? Is it the Tesseract? No, it's not the Tesseract. What does he give her?
The glove.
The glove, right. The gauntlet, of course. I know you. It just gives her the gauntlet.
Yeah.
And then there's a standoff. You know, which one? I'm not the real Gamora or Nebula. I'm the real Nebula. No. And there's like a whole like, which one's which? But not really. There's just a bit of an argument, and then future Nebula tries to convince past Nebula that she's good. She doesn't want to believe it. She's apparently about to shoot her. Gamora understands this, so that she yells like, no. Then Nebula shoots past Nebula. Yeah. Tying up loose ends really quickly, I guess. Yeah.
Sure.
So old Nebula's dead. New Nebula rules. So Ant-Man, Rocket, and Rhodey then flee the wreckage unscathed, of course. We already kind of mentioned it earlier. Got pinned by the thing, gets saved. Ant-Man's kind of going, I can help, running around as an Ant-Man.
Yeah, diving through the water,
Yeah.
all like the random water. Of course, he knows exactly how to get to them somehow in the rubble.
I don't know. Yeah, he's as smart as an ant, so.
Yeah. Although I guess you could say like he doesn't. Maybe they can detect where they are, but I'm like, if Ant-Man is able to grow that big, it kind of doesn't matter like how close he gets to them. He could just grow big and find them anyway. It seems like, but
yeah,
he does it the safe way. Yeah.
After this, I gotta admit, it's a bit of a blur when it comes to the MCU documentation and also the movie itself. So I'm gonna go here based on what I'm kind of remembering. I know Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man kind of group up after this at some moment here. I don't remember any dialogue in the scene. I just remember them kind of getting ready, sort of.
So there's just a little bit like, okay, what I really like first of all is after Iron Man wakes up Cap, gives him the shield, and then they walk over to like a clearing where Thor is just standing there. And so he's like, we just see the silhouette of Thor. Yeah. And like unmoved. And I like how we get a lot of like for remainder of this movie, we get a lot of I don't know what you call it, like landscape shots, where like after the three are standing there, so Cap, Iron Man, and Thor, they're standing there staring at Thanos, who's just sitting playing with rocks. But it's like a very like you see both of them in like this really wide shot. And a lot of the rest of the scenes we get, there's a lot of wide shots, there's a lot of scenes from like behind a character standing, there's really nice like vast landscapes of just like whatever kind of things that they put together. But so some of the lines that they talk about are like, oh, what's he doing? And he said nothing. He's sitting there, he's doing nothing. And then
I must have gone to the washroom at this moment. I know I went to the washroom at some moment, but I don't remember any of this, so I must have missed this.
So so he's just sitting there, and then Thor, like he's obviously like really, he's getting prepared to fight, and so he calls both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. I'm also wondering, where does he keep them? Like
he throws them out into the orbit of Earth, and then he brings them back every now and then.
Okay. I mean, like, he wants them to be close enough so that it won't take as long to get to him, but I just find it's really interesting that, like...
They should hover about his head.
Or they should always just be kind of, like, underground, just following his shadow, sort of thing.
Like little gophers?
Yeah, or like Tremors from that movie. Tremors, right. Anyway, so yeah, he calls forth both and turns into the God of Thunder, and he gets the suit that fits over his belly. And then they pretty much, like, the three of them, they go up to Thanos. He puts his helmet on and he's ready. Yeah. And I think he does, like, a little speech, like, you could not live with your failure.
Yeah, exactly. He says, where did that bring you back to me? He essentially says, like, I don't typically... What does he say? I don't typically have, like, emotional side to this whole thing, but I will enjoy watching this planet go. Like, he will enjoy watching this planet get torn down piece by piece.
Yeah.
You know, so this is like showing like the hatred of Thanos. He becomes kind of, in my opinion, more of your typical MCU villain here, where he's just kind of like, I'm destroying the world because I hate you.
Yeah. So I recall. Okay, yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, I know that you mentioned that you didn't like how he became like the typical villain. I feel like in this moment it's almost like hybrid, because he's typical in the sense that like he just wants to destroy the living things that are resisting him, but he also says he wants to recreate everything to be, he still wants to sit like resting with the grateful universe, like one that exists in the same way that the other Thanos envisioned. It's just that it's unfortunate that he wants to do it in a way that is more of a typical villain, to like destroy first and then recreate, as opposed to just change what already is.
Well, it's frustrating though, because in Infinity War, Thanos is without evil intention. It is to create a grateful universe without evil intention. In this one, it is to create a grateful universe unbeknownst to the fact that it was created with blood. And that's what they say. Like, even Thor's like, even though, or I think it's Captain America, he's like, even though they won't know about like how it was made, kind of thing like that. And he says something about like the ignorance, or like something about the fact that like not knowing will be like why they are going to succeed. It's because they don't know how it was created. It doesn't matter how they were created, and that is showing the evil side of it. Like the evil intention there is what frustrates me, because it's like and I'm sure that maybe for comic book people too, like maybe that's a better version of Thanos if you're trying to adapt him. But just for me, as just purely going by the films only, the Thanos I know doesn't have an evil intention, which is what makes him so interesting as an antagonist, is that he just thinks he's doing good. And what he's doing good flies in the face of what we know as good. I just like that motivation. I like that psychology better. But I see what you're saying. It is better than, let's just say, the lightning beam in the sky and the evil villain, like, I am the Mandarin. Like, it's obviously better than that. But it is just annoying when it's like, I want to be the ruler of the universe and I want to destroy Earth kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. I get what you mean.
Yeah, so it's gray area. It's better than normal, but I like the other Thanos better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so we fight some. I really like this fight scene. Watching them all fight here, Thanos without stones and fighting them all is really intense. Really heavy-handed. Fighting Thor, fighting Captain America, fighting Iron Man. Like, they all still can't really damage him all that much, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can last to an extent, but in the end, like, I mean, one-on-one, none of them would have a chance still.
Mm-hmm.
And even when, Thor's got both. He's got like all his powers returned, like using both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. Isn't able to do anything, and even Cap, when he grabs Mjolnir, like for a little while, it's really cool to see like how much he can, like how he can wield Mjolnir.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, it's so great to see, right?
I love what Thor's like, I knew it, and he's like excited about it. It's like, yeah,
exactly, yeah, and that's the kind of excitement that we get too, right?
For sure, yeah.
Which is nice. It's nice we can sympathize with the character in that way, and it's really cool to see how quickly Cap is able to wield Mjolnir in such a way that like you wouldn't expect. Like, he's not hesitating.
He retrieves it like he retrieves his own shield. He's just grabs
exactly.
it and like pulls
he's already
it. It's so natural. Like,
yeah, I like the combos he does. Like, he spins it, does like the whole uppercut thing, and then he throws his shield and then throws Mjolnir at it.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
I think he throws the shield, which bounces off of Thanos, and he hits the shield with Mjolnir, and it then bounces off of him again. Like, I think he does like a double hit with it.
Yeah,
some kind of ricochet happens, and it was so quick. I just like barely caught it, but I was like, oh, that was sweet.
And then it's really fun to see. It's cool.
Yeah,
really, really enjoy.
This is what these movies are made on: is these kinds of interesting combinations and moments like this. I gotta admit, I don't remember much of what Tony did that was all that interesting, but I know that he was holding his own. So good job, Tony. But I think in this fight scene, the more interesting parts are Captain America and Thor. It's fun to see Thor, even though he's fat Thor, still fight like this, like a Norse fat god. It's I like this.
Yeah.
That happens. Thanos eventually breaks his shield, Cap's shield, which then again kind of shows into Tony's premonition of seeing all the Avengers dead and seeing the broken Captain America shield. And at that time, we kept wondering what could even break vibranium. Well, here's Thanos breaking it quite easily, actually.
Yeah, really easily.
With whatever his sword is made of. I don't even know, but I assume it's some kind of vibranium or something. But yeah, it's obviously
something stronger.
Something able to destroy the shield, so pretty intense. So then Cap is feeling defeated. Everyone else is kind of knocked down. This is the great moment that we've all seen many, many times, played out in so many different other videos or shown in cool trailers and whatnot, where Captain then stands up on the hill, the cresting sun in the background. You got Thanos and his warring armies starting to come in, and it's like all versus the lone soldier. This is like the reason why I paid for my ticket, was just this one shot here. This is so good.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I love Cap just standing there like this is his I can do this all day moment. This is just so good. I was hoping for an homage to that scene from the original Captain America, but it's fine. It's still great. I don't care. It's great.
I think it's also one of those like show don't tell. Like he's obviously really tired. He doesn't need to say it.
Yeah, but I'm hearing it in my head
just
while
gonna
I'm
keep
seeing
getting
it.
up. Exactly. Yeah, like he gets up because that's how that's his mentality.
Yeah.
That's how he lives his life.
Yeah, he will keep getting up until he dies, which is similar to Daredevil, funny enough. Anyways, and then we get the great moment of, I thought the first thing you heard was on your left, but it's not. You actually hear someone saying, like, Cap, and they're, like, trying to find him. Which is interesting. I know they probably did it for the audience reactions in, like, a theater, but I do think it would have been better if on your left is the first thing you heard. But I do like that you hear on your left, and then that's kind of a callback from from Falcon, and Falcon telling Cap, or Cap telling Falcon on your left all the time when they were running in Winter Soldier. So a nice little callback to that moment. And obviously the fact that he's literally on his left and coming back in, and he's back. So
So I like how you mentioned a couple times like this whole part is like pretty much a blur for you, because sorry, the other part was a blur, and this is even more of a blur. It's just heavy blur. Because there's so much stuff, a lot of great
My
stuff.
brain
that happens,
can't
obviously.
process everything that happens on screen. I have to watch the scene over and over again to understand.
Yeah, it's because it's like 20 minutes of like relief kind of in a way, right? So like why that resonates with me is because usually when I'm writing my notes for when we're watching the movies, like I'm analyzing so much more, and everything's very methodical, and I'm very just like focused on like, okay, what's happening, what does this mean, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. But pretty much from the moment that that Cap picks up Mjolnir, like everything I'm writing is purely emotion, and I'm just like,
wow.
my eyes are just wide and my fingers are just going. So like, just to give you an idea of like what I'm like, there's a lot of caps lock in my notes. So I'll just read like a few lines. Like, so Static, what? Sam, what? On your left, yes. E-Bombay, Spider-Man swings into action, yes. Iron Pepper, cue Avengers theme, and it's all like in caps, and I'm just like, and I'm just going crazy, just really, really enjoying what's happening here. And it's been a long awaited thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like for us to finally get like just about literally every single person that has ever fought on the side of the Avengers or on the side of good finally together in like this big all-out battle. And it's so worth the wait, just being able to witness it.
Oh. Yeah,
not just waiting like in the theater, like watching it from the beginning of the movie, but like witnessing it from Iron Man, just knowing that something like this could be coming, and in the middle of it in terms of like just adding to the emotion. But we get that break of when Spider-Man finds Tony, when Peter finds Tony, and then he's explaining about like all these things that happened while they were gone and how he came back, and like Tony just can't say anything but like stare. He gets kind of misty-eyed and just hugs him. And it's just like, oh man, that feels so good.
He's like, this is nice. This is nice.
Yeah, this is nice. It is nice.
Yeah, that whole scene there is just like reward. I don't know.
Yes.
It's just reward for all
it
of
is
MCU.
just reward.
Like,
that's right.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. I don't know how you could not enjoy this.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think it's just reward for the audience too. I think it's reward for all of the actors as well.
For sure.
Like when you watch, I remember watching this shortly after the movie came out, but there's a scene, like a behind the scenes shot of like, you see the green screen, but it's kind of like in the middle of where they're like all the Avengers are together, and the Russo brothers are kind of just like talking about some notes, but you can see like, yeah, they're all there in that room, and I think for them, they're so, I think they're all grateful to have been a part of like all that work too, right? I think it's such a reward that for all that they've done, they can get to this point where they can really put this really great scene together, all together too, for the sake of everybody that's been watching and enjoying it. And yeah, it's I keep saying it, but I'll say it again. It's MCU has really changed the movie-going experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Think about all the films now that are trying to do universes, right? Their own cinematic universe. So it's interesting. Marvel has really done that.
Yeah,
so good for
it's
them.
not like other movie franchises haven't already, but just not to the extent that the MCU has.
And what will eventually hit that level next? What has enough characters to do that? A superhero has become a genre now, not just a thing.
Yeah,
it's a genre of movie. So, for example, like horror, the horror movies tried to kind of do something where they were like going to bring in the Mummy, and then they're going to bring back Dracula, and have the monster madness kind of stuff come in, Dr. Frankenstein and all that, and they still might be able to do it. But the reason why it won't be as easy is because it's not superhero. Superhero is an easy thing for us to relate to because it's full of triumph, and it's full of like falling down but getting back up and dusting your boots off and being able to work hard again, right? And that's all within the superhero genre. Every movie has that feeling, that same compassion. But if you're doing a horror Marvel or cinematic universe, unfortunately all your movies are horror movies now, and not everyone can relate to horror movies, right?
Exactly,
some people don't like them, so it's tough. So good on Marvel. They did a really good job, because now they can do superhero slash heist, superhero slash romance, superhero slash 80s film. Like they could just they could just keep mixing in anything to the superhero genre, because superhero doesn't really mean anything. It just means heroic.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Anyways, big battle is my note.
Yeah.
Yeah, the slings open up, the portals open up. We all know that every character. I don't know. You could pause it and probably name like a billion characters in this thing. It's really awesome to watch. I like Ant-Man just kind of like coming up in the background there and just like being huge as Giant Man and then just like taking out one of those big Chitauri alien things.
It's great. Yeah, it just punches it down. It's great.
The idea of Ant-Man being like as strong as the Hulk is so funny. Like he's just able to punch one giant thing like that. It's like, wow. Scott, like, this is a good movie for Scott. Like, he really gets a lot of good moments in it, so good for him. Another one that I really enjoy here. I don't want to skip over too much, but I only wrote down what I wrote down, so I don't know. If you remember stuff, let me know. But I like Wanda fighting Thanos, and I like how she almost takes out Thanos. Like, she's close to taking him out just by how strong she is, and the only way for him to escape is to get his own ships to shoot down on the army. Like, including his own army. Just they have to shoot down everybody. He has to like do a suicidal bombing run to even stop Wanda. And coming off the back of WandaVision, I'm liking the character of Wanda so much right now. And it's not just because of WandaVision, because I know that as we've started to go through these movies, my fiance even said it, that I'm just starting to like her character so much more. When we were watching Avengers Age of Ultron, I was just like, wow, she's so much better than I thought she was. Then we got into Civil War, and I was like, God, her and Cap and her and Vision and all this, like, I was just really liking her character. And when we get to this moment, I'm just like, I love him.
Yeah.
When she's like, you took everything from me. And he's like, I don't even know who you are. I just love that moment. It's so good. She's like, you will.
You will. Yeah.
She's so creepy.
Yeah, no, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. I really enjoyed the Iron Duo. So when Iron Man and Pepper,
it's quick.
They kind of go like, it is really quick, but yeah, they're doing their own thing. Then they come together, go back to back, and they both like shoot their lasers at the same time.
Yeah,
I think that's a really cool moment. It's almost like if you were to play Marvel versus Capcom, and that's like your ultimate ability. Like you call in Pepper, and then you just do your duo kind of thing. That's really cool.
I like in the beginning when Tony says that Mommy never wears anything he buys her.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good little moment. Morgan is his daughter, right?
Yeah, Morgan. Yeah, that's right. I think Morgan is supposed to be like his uncle or something in the comics, but in the movie they use the name Morgan to be his daughter.
Oh, also a nice reference. Jarvis was supposed to be a butler to the Stark family, and then they actually made Jarvis a butler in the flashback scene. I actually thought that was great.
Oh, that's right. Well, he's actually also he plays Jarvis, like that same Jarvis in Agent Carter.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but I thought that was really
character.
cool as a touch, just knowing that Jarvis was supposed to be a butler, and then seeing him, I was like, oh, wow, cool. Like, it's almost like seeing the Alfred of like the Stark universe. So.
It kind of is, exactly. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So Captain Marvel comes onto the scene, starts helping out by blowing up some ships, just like she did in her Captain Marvel movie.
Just literally flies through the ship and just takes it down.
Where were you during like any of this?
Yeah, exactly.
She's had so many lines in this movie where she's just defending that one statement. Almost every line directed at her in this movie was, "Oh, so can't you do it?" And then her response is, "No, sorry, I couldn't. I couldn't do it because of blank. You know, I couldn't do it because there's other wars happening, or I couldn't do it because you're not the only one who has to face Thanos, or I couldn't do it because the blip is happening over here. Whatever. It's constantly her on the defensive because it is a little weird that she has not shown up until this moment.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how else you could make her be a part of it earlier, because
I know.
It's almost like the same reason why they didn't have Thor and Hulk in Civil War, is because they're just way too overpowered.
Yeah.
Compared to everybody else, right? In terms of like whatever needs to happen.
I could be wrong, but I feel like to fix all this, they just had to make Captain Marvel's origin story not take place in the 90s. If they just had her origin story take place closer to the snap, then it would have made a lot more sense. I don't think we would have had any hole there, and we would have been fine with Captain Marvel coming out.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I like the idea that though she would have, if she had her origin like earlier, and then in the meantime she had more time to actually go around to all the different galaxies and different planets and see like, okay, where she actually needs to have her help, and then has an attachment that way. Otherwise she would just be on Earth like all the time, because she wouldn't have known enough to be useful anywhere else. You know, I don't know. Great power comes great responsibility, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. So Thanos fights Captain Marvel. Before this, there is a race to get to the van. There is a nice little nod, interestingly enough, which I only caught because we watched these movies with Ant-Man and the Wasp, where
when she says Cap.
She says, yeah, thanks Cap or whatever, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god. I was like, they actually called back to the Ant-Man 2 movie where she made fun of him for saying Cap. I was like, good job. Like,
yeah.
So well done to them for having a split-second scene that actually references their movie, and then having the two of them jump back to the van. Again, I'm so shocked by the cleverness of this film. And yeah,
there's another. I think they fill in a lot of gaps. There's another gap filler where, it's when Clint is running with the gauntlet, but then he kind of gets stopped, like he can't go further, and then Black Panther comes and calls him Clint. Whereas like back in, I can't remember like their first encounter, he said like, I'm Hawkeye or whatever, and he says I don't care. He just like doesn't give him the time of day. But in this one, he calls him by his name.
Best lines in Civil War. Every line is great. I don't care. That's genius. I miss that Black Panther. He was so good, so angsty.
So there's that. Another gap filler would be. We finally get to see Spider-Man use his instant kill mode.
Oh yeah, it was so intense.
It was great. I loved it.
Yeah,
that's so nice.
I love how he gets a little bit overwhelmed too by the end of it. It's just like they start like climbing over him, and his instant kill's still trying to go, but it's like they're still taking him out.
That's way too many. Yeah.
Then there's the famous women teaming up against all the things trying to help Peter, where it's
pretty
like
much everything.
Yeah, when there's like, what someone's like. What, we got your back, Peter? Or something. What was the line they say? Like,
wait. Okay. He first Captain Marvel is the one who shows up, right? And then she's like, "Oh, do you have some? He says, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker. Hi, Peter Parker. You got something for me?" And like, I don't know how you're gonna get through all of them or something like that.
Yeah.
All by yourself. And she's like, she won't be.
That was it.
Something like that.
There was a moment, and because I find this scene pretty funny, but there was a moment when it shows Nebula. No, I'm sorry, not Nebula. It shows Mantis.
Oh yeah.
And I know it's trying to be like a girl power thing. So I was like joking with my fiance. It's like, I'm shocked one of them didn't look at Mantis. Like, wait, are you female? Like,
what are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Just this weird Mantis thing running. It's like, I understand the actress is female, but like, is Mantis technically a female in this female empowering scene? Like,
I think she is. Yeah, I think so.
Well,
Mantis come in male and female genders.
I guess so,
because they mate, right?
She's really out of place looking in this giant thing. It's pretty funny. If I was to pick out one of them from the crowd, I'm picking out Mantis.
I'm fine with the idea of all the female characters coming together. I just don't think I like how they walk into the shot. Or how they come into the shot.
We already talked about this. So Infinity War did a much better version of this, where they had the women come together for a fight scene. It was a woman enemy villain.
Oh yeah, because Okoye, Scarlet Witch, Okoye, Black Widow,
and Scarlet Witch.
And is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Scarlet
Okay.
Witch is one of the finishes are off. But yeah, it's
a
woman villain and then 3 women allies fighting against the villain, and it's a good, compelling scene. Like, I've got zero qualms with it. This one is weird because it's trying to be a boy band or like some kind of like K-pop kind of like poster or something. Like the way they're, like you said, the way that the camera's moving and they're grouping together is to make a screenshot. Like you almost think it's going to freeze frame, rotate diagonally 45 degrees, and then a cursive writing signature is going to go across the screen. Like,
yeah, right. I know what you mean. I think the difference is that in Infinity War, like the way that all of a sudden they're in the shot is like in the middle of battle.
Yes.
Like they go there to support each other.
Yes.
But in this one, in Endgame, they arrive into the scene getting prepared to fight, right?
Yes.
So they're like kind of walking in like casually and like comfortable. Like there's no immediate threat, there's no imminent threat. It's just like, okay, let's just take some time and get in the shot.
Yes.
And then we're gonna go move together. So it's kind of like a weird, it's almost like too much structure is happening that they have to like gather and then they have to communicate and then go forward and then do their plan. So I feel like because they're trying to fit too much of like the preparation is what maybe takes away from the impact of them actually being supportive of each other.
Definitely. Another way of saying it is one of them progresses the story forward with its action and also does the female empowerment thing, while the other one looks like a bunch of photo shoots on a green screen set that then kind of they put together. Like, it literally looks
Yeah.
like they were just like, can we get all the girls in on Thursday at 7, and then we'll just all go in front of the green screen set. You always kind of huddle in, and it's like, oh, we got this actress too, she couldn't make it. Oh, well, can you film her on a green screen kind of doing a little sidle in, and we'll just kind of put her in the background, kind of, which is probably what actually happened, but it's sad that we can even see that while watching this in this moment.
Yeah.
That is probably my only real critical note to this whole awesome ending fight scene, is that there are some moments where it feels a little fragmented, as if it was filmed like away from
separately.
Like, obviously,
yeah, that's right.
obviously these things are filmed separately. They kind of have to be in this day and age with all these actors too. But unfortunately, it feels that way a little bit in some of the little snippets they do. Meanwhile, when
as if they're not really cognizant of like everything that's happening.
Exactly. Meanwhile, when you compare that to Infinity War, and I just keep using that because it also had a lot of actors in it, it feels like they're at a real set, and it feels like they're all actually there. Same with Civil War, for that matter. It feels like it's an actual set, and it feels like they're all actually there. And the funny thing is even Civil War had to kind of put in characters after the fact, right? With Peter Parker, there was a lot of like kind of redone scenes or reworkings to make things work to have him come into the whole thing. So it's just interesting here. It came off a little bit fragmented in this battle, but nothing horrible. It definitely didn't ruin it in any way, shape, or form. It was just something to note. The van blows up. Thanos destroys the van that's got the quantum
hot tub
tunnel
time machine. Yep.
When that happens, he gets the glove, and Captain Marvel has to fight him with the glove. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, he gets it pretty much because like he blows it up, and then I feel like let's see what happens. Okay, so blows up. Oh wait, I'm looking for it. The glove gets thrown away. He's going to get the glove, and then I think let's see. Iron Man sees it. He's about to get the glove. I'm doing the play-by-play.
Nice.
Oh, Iron Man pushes Thanos away. Thanos turns around and elbows Iron Man. Iron Man goes flying. Thor comes in. He's got Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. He hits Thanos with Mjolnir, throws it away, and then he turns around. So anyway, yeah,
and the crowd
gets in like a little. He gets in a little grip with both Captain America and Thor.
Gets a little grip.
Trying to get the glove, and then Thanos is able to pretty much like take them both out.
Right.
He rolls over Captain America, hits him in the face, and Captain America's just out flat.
Oh.
And then Captain Marvel comes just as Thanos grabs the gauntlet. So what's cool about the scene is like we can see how smart of a fighter he is.
Yes.
Captain Marvel shows how strong she is and how much stronger she is than Thanos. Like just Thanos as Thanos. Actually, even Thanos with the glove.
Yeah.
Like she's physically stronger than him, but it's just his brain is just so much faster.
Yeah.
Like he can calculate exactly what he needs to do in like a matter of seconds. So he removes the Power Stone. He risks like the pain that it takes just to hold it for that second. Punches Captain Marvel, and she goes flying
good move
with the power of the Power Stone, right? Yeah, it's a great move.
That little thing, that's just little genius moments in this movie. That moment right there is just jaw-dropping. It's so smart. Just remove the stone for a second to use it, then put it back in the glove. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
sacrifice whatever he needs to for the sake of like his plan, basically. So that's one thing that is like very evident about Thanos. I think whether you talk about the new or old one, is like he still has the same conviction that like he's got whatever he has that he wants to set in motion. He's doing whatever it takes, like no compromises, basically.
Right.
So it's and that I think that's a really cool thing to see. And then so makes her go flying, and then puts the Power Stone back in. He's powering up, and then we have the moment where Iron Man, he's coming to this realization, and he meets eyes with Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange realizes that Iron Man realizes that we're in that.
This is the one reality.
He finally had that one like mental thought that was the 1 in 14 million chances or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can't believe there's only one universe where this happens. Was there a few parallel universes where Tony like went to grab the glove but then missed, and then Thanos just like murdered him? Probably.
Well, I would assume that like out of the 14 million, it's kind of like the closer to the one. Yeah, there's probably just a few that are just like one step off from him actually getting the glove.
And like Doctor Strange is just like really hoping that they're in the one where Tony didn't like trip on the person on the way to getting to the gauntlet.
Right. Yeah, like he forgot to eat his full bowl of cereal before they came out today, kind of
went
thing.
a little bit slower. He's like, oh no, this is 14,001.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I wrote Thanos snaps, but Tony snaps harder. I do like the idea where Tony goes to grip the whole thing, and then Thanos throws him aside, and you're like, oh no, he didn't get it, and Thanos snaps. And you're just kind of like, whoa. Like, it was well done, even this time when I'd already seen it. I forgot.
Yeah.
Like, I totally forgot. So I was just like, I was shocked to see Thanos snap. And then when it cut back to Tony, and I was just like, oh. And, like, what an epic shot of them, like, crawling up his hand and going into the glove. Like, oh, so good.
I actually, even before that, so just a thing for Thanos, like, he snaps, and he's got that little breath. I love that little breath. It's, like, it's so subtle. But, yeah, so it's just, like... I think, obviously, like, Josh Brolin doesn't have a lot of physicality. Actually, no, he does actually do the acting for it. He does the mocap. But in terms of, like, physically seeing him, like, it's a lot of it's CGI. So he's got to rely a lot on his voice as well. Mm-hmm. And I think he does a really good job. And I think it's the subtleties in his voice and his deliveries that I think that work really well for his character. Because he doesn't do anything that is, like, over the top to try to match a big hulking kind of character. Everything is actually on the subtler side because that's the Thanos character. He's a confident person, but he's not naive, and he's not over emotional. He understands what happens in the moment, and I think his breath, just like when he snaps and it doesn't work, I think is very evident of that idea of Thanos. So I really enjoyed that because that's Thanos in defeat, like speechless, just breath. So yeah. I like that.
I wonder if Josh Brolin had like 3 or 4 different breaths in mind and like waited and was like talking to the Russo brothers. Like, this one, well, how do you think about this breath? What about that breath? Yeah. What about that one?
So I was at home. I got 33 breaths. So let me know which one you like.
Yeah. So then, obviously, Tony does the snap. It takes a huge toll on him. This snap is kind of like the Thanos snap from Infinity War, but instead it's in reverse. It's a snap that just kills all the bad people.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, at least. It seems to be a snap that just takes away anybody who is Thanos or Thanos adjacent.
Thanos related, yeah. That's right.
But not Gamora. New Gamora, because she would have been, I guess, if she didn't then join up with the new Nebula. So whatever Tony's snap was, Gamora doesn't count in that rule set for some reason.
Wait, why?
I don't know, but Gamora's still around.
Is she?
Well, don't they mention at the end that Gamora's like off traveling somewhere?
Oh no, when Quill is looking for her on his radar, it says searching or scanning.
Oh,
but it doesn't actually end up like finding a result or anything.
So she might be snapped. So, okay, never mind.
I think, I mean, like it could just be, who knows? Like maybe like we're actually still in some sort of different timeline where she exists, or
like I'm curious to know like if Nebula, the old Nebula, was still alive trying to work for Thanos. If Tony had snapped, would she be snapped? I assume she would be, but I don't know. Does the snap include people who were eventually going to turn into good people over time? Like who were good-spirited or good-hearted but needed the right motivations? Or did his snap just... like, I don't know whatever Tony
I know,
snapped.
Yeah, exactly.
His snap was just the movie ending snap, but we don't really know the context behind it at all. And I don't know if we ever need to, but still, I'm just curious.
That's right. Yeah, we'll get the answers later on, and it may or may not answer other questions we have in mind, but
the results
I
may
think
vary.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Thanos snaps, Tony snaps harder, and at this moment, he then crumbles to the ground. I like their boldness with this. They could have taken way more time, and I did think they took too long in the theaters, but I regret that decision now. Now I think they took a really good amount of time with this. They could have taken way more time and had Tony, like, dribble out a few more lines and do this or that, but they respected the stones enough to make Tony barely function for like these last 3 moments. Like, it was perfect. By the time Pepper's talking to him, he's like only able to really look at her. And barely say Pep. And it's perfect. And I love I know you're gonna get to this, but I love Pepper's dialogue to him. Like, it's the perfect thing she could have said, where she's just like, we're safe now, everyone's safe, we're all good now, just rest.
Yeah,
like,
you can rest now.
It's like, that is the perfect end to Tony. You couldn't ask for better than that. It's amazing. Like, now after watching all of these over again, going through this whole thing with you and watching these every 2 weeks and seeing how much Tony Stark we've had to see, I get it, and it makes so much sense. It's a perfect ending for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then we got a little moment with Peter, like, because Peter's one of the first ones. Well, Rhodey shows up, realizes that it's pretty much over, and then Peter shows up, and oh man, just like knowing how much Peter like looks up to Tony and is so grateful that it's over, grateful that he's like had all these opportunities with Tony, and these are like the last moments he has with him. Oh man, it's if you're really invested in the relationship between Tony and Peter, that's very hard to watch.
Oh yeah.
Just to see, I think Tom Holland does a really good job of just like showing that kind of pain that the character's feeling.
Yeah, and they continue it actually pretty well in the next Spider-Man movie as well. But yeah, like Peter's quite motivated by his character, and this is his Obi-Wan Kenobi moment right here, where he's about to now take on the mantle essentially and have his master pass away. But Tony will always be with him in spirit. So the heroes then mourn Tony at his funeral, which is a lot better than the Black Widow funeral.
I don't think that really was a funeral. I don't think they were.
Well, they were at the same place mourning her.
Yeah. I guess. Okay, sure. We'll say it's like the.
They just didn't invite anyone.
Like half funeral. Yeah.
Kind of just talking about her at the same place where they decided Tony's funeral would be. Anyway, so yeah, this is Tony's actual funeral, where it kind of does like a credits roll almost of all the characters, including like the boy at the back who everyone forgets about, and then like the joke is like, oh yeah, he came too. Like, you didn't remember him? Yeah, he's the kid from Iron Man 3. No one recognized him? Shocker. Oh, interesting. Even on the Wikipedia to, like, the movie in the end there, it mentions all the people that are there. At the very end, it said, I can't remember the boy's name, but it was like, and he was there too. Like, it adds, it adds, and I was like, the way you wrote that is also the way we all, saw this movie. Just like, oh yeah, and the boy. Who's that? Like, yeah. Anyways,
there's a weird I don't know why, like, I always kind of like notice this part, but so yeah, it goes through the whole crawl of the characters, and then it gets to Hawkeye's family, and then his son that's standing on the left has this really weird look or like stance. Something about him just looks like very odd. I don't know what they're supposed to be kind of like pinpointing out to be something like later on, but for some reason he really stands out. So I don't know.
Wow.
Weird.
So, from the Goofy movie, you got to stand out.
Always got to stand out. Yeah.
So yeah, that funeral pans across everybody. Clint and Wanda have a moment, which took me a little while to understand what was going on, because I was like, did he just miss his redhead friend and he needed a new redhead friend to talk to? But then I totally forgot that like Clint and Wanda had their whole moment in Age of Ultron, where like Clint recruited Wanda into the Avengers. So I forgot like he actually does have quite a tie with Wanda. And I was like, okay. And then what is kind of frustrating though is in that moment when she's just like, yes, they both do, kind of thing. Like he's like I hope she knows it was worth it. And she's like, yeah, like they both do. She's talking about Vision. But since my mind went back to Age of Ultron, I thought she was talking about Pietro.
Pietro?
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, they almost missed a good opportunity there for her to mention Pietro at some moment here, to be like, oh yeah, like they both do Pietro and Vision. Right. Almost like I don't know how you do it good, like with great dialogue, but it almost missed a moment there to also respect Pietro, because he was like the first MCU character to die. Like in a shocking fashion, right? So
and like sacrifice himself, especially too, right?
For Clint, who's standing there next to her, like
yeah. Good point.
Yeah. Anyways, it was just something I was thinking about while I was watching that little moment. Thor and Valkyrie have a moment. Thor then gives Asgard to Valkyrie, says that she'll be a better leader than him. What are you gonna do? Oh, I'm just gonna roam around for a while, which means that, Chris Pine's what's his name? Chris Hemsworth's just going to kind of wait and see what happens with his contract, I guess.
I see. Yeah. Right. Yeah, then joins the Asgardians of the Galaxy. Back together again.
If we get more Asgardians of the Galaxy, can we please not have more Star-Lord and Thor just constantly going back and forth on these lame jokes? Like, they're not funny. Watching him be like, of course we know who the captain is. I was like, oh, this is so annoying. Just move on. Like,
yeah, that's right. I think because we've gotten enough of him always saying like, oh, he's the strongest Avenger, or just at least thinking about it.
Yeah.
Thinking that he's the strongest Avenger and thinking that everybody else thinks it too. So I mean, some things die hard, but our old habits die hard.
Well, Guardians doesn't need this kind of a character. Like, I like Thor with the Guardians if Thor is going to be different, but it doesn't need this version of Thor. It's funny as it is, but it doesn't need this kind of character to make it more funny. Unfortunately, that's going to make it worse, I think. So.
Yeah.
There was actually I yelled at the TV where I said cut because there was like a joke that was happening there, but on the Asgardian thing there, and like it just kept going, and I was just like cut away, and it just stayed on screen, and I was like, this is so
Stop
bad.
it.
Like, but like if I was an editor watching this, I would have been like pulling my eyes out, being like, just press spacebar, cut the shot, move to the next shot. Like it's done now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bad. Anyways, it was enraging to me. So then Sam, Bucky, Steve, and Bruce all head back to get Steve prepared to take the stones back for his famous little stone returning journey.
Yep.
They do the thing, send him back. Thank God they didn't turn him into like baby Captain America by accident.
Yeah.
Although that would have been kind of funny. Oh, young Steve. That would have been great to see young, skinny Steve again for a second. That would have been kind of fun.
I was thinking, I don't know what I thought about this, but I was thinking it would have been cool if he did come back, or like he comes back later on and he's Stanley. So rather than being like,
what?
Rather than, so not he's Stanley, but Stanley plays like old Captain America.
Oh, I see.
Or old Steve Rogers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that could have been cool.
They did a good job with him, but you just inspired me a little bit more. It would have been interesting if he found a way to be able to live his life as if he never got the super soldier serum. If there was, I know that's not possible with the way that time travel works in this movie, but it would have been interesting if he could have done the same thing, gone and met Peggy, and then lived their lives together, and then like been old again, but never had the serum and lived a regular life. That would have been actually pretty interesting, I think. When he came back as an old man, if he was like a skinny, old, frail man, like, and was just like, I got to see what it was like to be a normal person, and that was the best life I've ever had, kind of thing. That would have been a really inspiring message, I think, to other people too. Because it's all about, again, what Captain America is, which is just what you are all on the inside. So,
yeah, that's right. Good point.
Regardless, it was I thought it was interesting. Steve doesn't return, and then, lo and behold, the only person that knows where Steve is Bucky. The actual person who pretty much already knew what was going to happen when he was talking to Steve beforehand. You can see it on their face when they're talking, where he's just like. He's essentially like, have a good life.
I'm really going to miss you. Yeah. So obviously, like, why would he say that if he knew he was returning?
Exactly.
Right?
He knows what's up.
Yeah.
And then I love how like Bucky's just like, Sam, just go, just take the, just go.
Yeah.
Go. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, my guess with this situation is that like Cap actually confided in Bucky. Like told him like, hey, I just want you to know, like, this is my plan. This is what I'm gonna do.
I'm sure
he go back and blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, what do you think about Falcon? Does he deserve the shield? Yeah. Is he worthy of it? Yeah. Like I kind of feel like he would have confided in him. He wouldn't have just made the decision himself, just knowing that Bucky's there anyway.
Definitely. Bucky's like,
that's my guess.
Bucky's like, yeah, Sam's pretty good, I guess. And Cap's like, well, I just thought, with your arm, like it might not have worked as well, or it might have been. No, it's fine. No, Sam's great. Yeah, I figured it would be weird. Yeah, okay, no, Sam's fine. we're missing that scene, I think.
Yeah, we'll get that in What If.
The What If. It's just a whole episode of Cap and Bucky like passive aggressively like deciding who's gonna get.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Sam meets up with Steve. They have the scene that we talked about earlier. Steve gives Sam the shield. Interesting note as well. Sam, when just before taking the shield and donning the shield, he looks over to Bucky. And what does Bucky do? He gives him a head nod of, yes, you're allowed to take that shield for now, boy, before I eventually take it back from you. And he lets him take it. And then Sam takes the shield, and therefore he is Captain America. Sure, whatever. Sure, he's Captain America.
Or he's Captain Falcon. He's Falcon America.
Falcon America. We'll see what happens in Falcon and Bucky.
I mean, they're going to be trading the shield off. It's
exactly.
Go back
I'm kind of glad that, anyway. Like, I would rather that. If Sam is still going to be Falcon and Bucky's still going to be Bucky, then I'd rather they share the shield than either one of them takes the shield. That'd be my preference. I just think if one was only to take the shield, it makes more sense for Bucky. But
yeah, or like Peter Parker finds a way to separate the shield so that it's like a yin and yang, so they each get half.
That'd be
right?
pretty cool.
I don't know if it would. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it.
And then like whenever they team up, they like put it together.
They have to stand next to each other. They do like the Dragon Ball Z like fusion.
Yeah, fusion. Ha!
They do like a dance and then put the shields together.
I'd like to see them like run, like one's got the left arm extended and the other one's got the right arm extended, and they're running like clotheslining, and it's got the shield like connected in the middle, and they like batter ram people.
They're doing like the full like running lariat.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
The wrestling move. Yeah,
that'd be fun. Maybe we'll see that in Falcon and Bucky.
We probably will. Yeah.
Anyways, there's the whole shield dance there, and then wow, I can't thank this movie enough for giving like again another perfect ending. Just Steve and dancing with Peggy, and just the emotions you feel when it's like Steve got to have like such a good life back then. Yeah, it's like wrapping up everybody nicely here. So, if everyone else in this movie had horrible scenes and it was just like annoying to watch them and it was just awful, as we kind of saw with Thor, it doesn't matter because Tony and Steve were handled so well in this film, and it shows you how important those characters are at the core of all of these films. So as long as those two were handled well in like every one of their scenes for Endgame here, then we're done. Wrap it up. It's a good movie. And they did. And they also sprinkled in a lot of genius moments throughout this movie to make it a pretty dang good Marvel movie. Is it the best? No. But it is far from the worst.
Very far from the worst in my opinion.
It's probably top 3, to be honest. If I really rank them all, this is probably top 3 for me.
Okay. I didn't think you liked it that much. I thought maybe it would have been like top 8 or something.
I think I'm somewhere along the lines of Infinity War being the best, followed by Civil War and or Winter Soldier. Probably Civil War over Winter Soldier, though, but I don't know. They're pretty close. And then somewhere in there, I'm sprinkling in the first Iron Man and Endgame. And I think it's pretty universal for a lot of people out there. Those are like the heavy hitters, the ones that also made a lot of money, right? Like, So
I know a lot of people who really, really like Civil War and Winter Soldier. A lot of people say those are in their top like 3 for sure. Yeah.
It's hard not to like them. Like so many lines that we quote for the Marvel Cinematic Universe start and end with those films. I'm shocked with Civil War all the time. Whenever we watch it, I go like, how good of a movie it is. I always think it's going to be just some stupid movie where they all just fight in a parking lot, but it's not. There's so much more to that movie.
Oh yeah, way more.
And without Civil War, this movie isn't as good. Obviously, it's just that there's so much that gets built up in that movie that concludes in this movie. So, good job, MCU. How do you feel about it?
Very. Oh, I'm so happy with it. I don't know if it is my top movie of the MCU, but I can say for sure that like I can't not enjoy it greatly because it's like I said, it's it's very rewarding just to watch it, and it's also very relieving. Like even if you're not really carrying a burden from thinking about all the movies you watch, like when you watch this, like you feel this kind of weight that's lifted because you finally get to see what you've been looking forward to. The characters get it, you get it. And like I don't like to, or I don't know if I don't like to, but sorry, I don't want to say that it is a fan service movie because a lot of it really is. I feel like a lot of it really is fan service, but I think it's fan service just also done appropriately. It's not fan service just thrown in there for the heck of it, but like it's. Or maybe it's just like it's an appropriate movie that is consequently fan service because we finally really, in my opinion, get everything that we've wanted to see.
Right.
And you can't really say that about a lot of the MCU movies because there are so many things that you can just like because they never conclude in a specific way that you can't ever just say like, oh, that's exactly how I wanted to finally see it all together, or that's exactly how I wanted to see Ant-Man work with the Wasp or something, right? Like because they're able to fill in a lot of the gaps, we have resolutions not just for like the group, the Avengers, but like for individual characters, and in terms of storyline, I think it still does a fairly good job of not creating like too convoluted of a plot, like considering that it's time travel, right? So every time I watch it, I still get a lot of the same emotions that I got from the first time watching it, and I think the fact that it lasts for me is what makes me really, really enjoy this movie. Yeah.
Well, I don't think I can say it better than that. It's a pretty good recap.
Cool.
Nice.
Thanks. Yeah.
For our after credit scenes, I just wrote ding, 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 because that's about all we really get.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
My fiance and I, we scrubbed through it too. We were like, is there one? I can't remember. We were like really just trying to find it. I was like, no, I guess there isn't. So.
Yeah. I like how the like before the actual credits roll, we get some, I can't remember what theme is playing or what song is playing when we're showing like, or when we get to see the
actors' signatures written over their character.
Well, yeah, prior to that it's like all the other characters, and then we get into like the main Avengers cast,
right.
and it's them with their signatures, which I think is kind of cool.
I like that.
It's a nice touch.
It feels like it's encasing it forever, right? It's like that you are officially this person forever. It almost feels like
you've immortalized this role. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wow. Well, I can't believe we're saying this, but Anth0z, we're at that point.
Oh,
what is your worst character in Endgame?
Okay, I have a feeling I know who you're gonna say. I think so. I'm not going to say it, and I will say the Hulk.
Oh, weird. Because he didn't bother me all that much in this movie. I'm curious why. So. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't amazing either. He was kind of milquetoast for me. What do you think about the Hulk?
I said the reason why the Hulk for me is because, to me, he doesn't, like, in a lot of the scenes, it doesn't seem like he really adds to the progression of things. He's just kind of in, like, he's there for, like, in between moments. So yeah, like the taco thing,
shrink ray thing, or I guess age ray thing.
I mean, yeah, in a little bit. Like the diner scene, just a lot of when he's there, like I guess the scenes where he's talking are the ones where just like, okay, I don't think this is necessary. Like, he's useful for the snap. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Like,
he convinces Thor to come back, though. He does say, "You helped me in a time of crisis."
I don't think he does it. I think Rocket does it by saying we have beer on the ship.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
So I don't really know if he like actually adds to progression with his dialogue. It's really just the snap that I can think of. I might be maybe forgetting some things, but yeah. So that's why I would say the Hulk. And also what I said before, like the balance of Banner and the Hulk, to me, it doesn't work.
Right. So yeah, just before saying my least favorite character, I'll just mention a point here that I was forgetting. I meant to say at the very beginning. Is that with Captain America, there is a very frustrating part of Captain America at the beginning of this film, and it makes me set on the wrong foot. It's why I was saying that, like, the beginning of this movie I get really annoyed, and, like, it's not going the way I want it to go, and it gets all depressing. The Captain America we see at the beginning of this film is also a different kind of Captain America who's, like, very defeated, and it's not one that I'm used to seeing, so he gets into the realm of what I don't want to watch. That being said, he totally changes into the middle of the film when they start to progress and they have a new plan, and now he's falling right back into his leadership roles and all that, and he's great. And then later on, he's awesome and totally great. But at the beginning, I was a little bit worried that he's falling into, oh my god, are you going to be my least favorite character? And the reason I say that is because in Infinity War, Captain America is so on the sidelines that I was like, okay, you're obviously waiting for the next film to show me Captain America. Because he gets like maybe one or two lines that are actually even Captain America lines. And then in this movie, it starts off with, like, depressed Captain America, and I was like, am I even going to get the Captain America I'm waiting for, you know? Yeah. So there was a moment of fear there. But anyways, and it happened again a little bit when I rewatched it this time, because I forgot how it all turns out. Regardless, my worst character is clearly Iron Man. No, I'm just kidding. It's Thor.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish he was better. And he doesn't have all bad moments. There are some redeeming moments, but Thor, there was a time when Thor was my favorite MCU character, and now he's just gone through such a change over all the movies to get to where he is now, where they want to make him comedic relief, but they also want to make him, like, powerful. But they, like, it's almost like with Captain Marvel, they just don't really know what to do with Thor. And so in this movie, they just meddle around with a bunch of, in my opinion, experimental humor that really misses the mark. So, I just be better than this.
Yeah, the balance of his strength and humor was much better in Ragnarok. Yes. And it just didn't work out for the characterization that they wanted in this movie, just because of the whole fat depressed Thor.
I mean, he's funny in Infinity War when he's again going through a very distraught moment and going through a lot of depression and all that, and he's funny there when he's able to talk to Groot, and they're like, "What, you can speak whatever tree or whatever?" And he's like, "Oh, I took it as an elective." Like, small joke. Works well, you know, like it's funny. I'm still quoting it now. Like it's just it's interesting, but yeah, in here now they just try to do all these stupid gags and weird humor that does not work for Thor. So I don't know. They could have done it better, I think, and respected the character better than that. But whatever. Anth0z, what was your favorite character?
Oh shoot.
Oh no.
That's tough. You go first.
My heavy bias is always there. Captain America is by far my favorite character, but it's just because I like seeing him on screen. I'm so happy to see him. And by the end of it, I almost feel a little guilty where I'm like, I know this is supposed to be Iron Man's movie, and yet like they give me so much Captain America by the end of the film that I'm just like, ooh, like I hope the Iron Man guys don't get too mad. Like, so much Cap. It ends with Cap. Like it's like, oh, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of want to say Cap too. I'm almost tossing it up between. No, I can't. I like a lot of the scenes we got with Ant-Man, but I think I'm gonna have to stick with. I'm gonna go with Iron Man. I think, for the general notions that we have of him, I think because he. You know, in the beginning, he's already pretty accepted, or he has accepted like what he's going through. But obviously, typical Tony can't leave well enough alone, right? Yeah. So I think what is great there is that like, he built something that he theoretically could have been happy with if he just left it.
Yes.
But the Tony character we know is not somebody who can just leave it. So I think the way that was portrayed was very appropriate, and for him to obviously tinker around on his own. Come back to the realization that like, okay, these guys need me to help them with something, I'm just gonna go do that. Like I'm the one who has the power to do it. And then also for making those decisions later on. I think the character was obviously done really well. Robert Downey Jr. played it fantastically.
Yeah, he did a great job in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So Iron Man would be my
if I had zero bias, Iron Man would be my favorite as well, but he's just a perfect story arc contained within this very strangely structured film, and then also perfect story arc contained within all of MCU. So, good job, Anth0z. How does this movie rate as a piece of a bigger picture, like how comics are pieces of art? Pretty much the same as Infinity War, right? It's the same question.
Yeah, exactly. Like how can you not see this as anything other than like a piece of so much more.
This is like a comic book in the store that you buy that is like the reason why you bought all the other comic books was leading up to this one comic book. Like,
or like this is the one that like all your friends talked about that they read, and so you go out to buy it, and then after you read this one, then you go back and reread everything that happened just before this one.
Like this is oh, I forget what I was gonna say. No, I had a good analogy and I totally lost it. It's fine. It doesn't matter. You get it, though. Right. It's very much like a comic book, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. We did it. The mammoth of Endgame is done.
Oh, jeez.
Which is crazy. Wow. I actually, weirdly, I never felt like this after we've done one of these podcasts, but I honestly want to watch this movie again right now. Like, all I want to do is kind of just go and rewatch it.
I do, too.
I have this weird feeling of just being like, I'm on such a high right now from this movie that I'm just kind of like, is it weird that I just want to watch all of MCU over again now? Like,
minus Captain Marvel? Yeah. Like, true. I do really want to...
Watch it in my own order.
Well, I kind of want to go to sleep with, like, Endgame just playing on in the background.
Yeah.
Just, like, silently, just next to my ears.
I don't know if you've been doing this, but I haven't been watching, like, any MCU movie stuff or, like, trailers or, like, videos or anything like that because I didn't want to get spoiled from our watch over like this last year, so it's been hard. So if a video was trying to recap on something from Endgame, I'd be like, oh, turn it off. Like, I don't want to know because I don't remember Endgame, and I'd rather forget Endgame until we rewatch it. So
I generally don't watch like that kind of stuff. If I'm watching trailer related things, it's for things that are like coming up, not like I do get a lot of feed on my YouTube like, oh, here's some things you missed about Endgame or whatever, like Yeah, and I'm like, nope, not gonna look at that.
Well, it's kind of rewarding now that it's like, okay, I don't have to worry anymore. I'm all caught up now, so I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, to anybody out there listening to this long-form podcast, it's pretty much the length of the movie.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to catch us on our next bonus Marvel Marathon episode, where we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Far From Home. We're going to explain it in much more detail in that episode, but this whole time we've been talking about the 22 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, while there's actually, 23 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But
yes, that's right.
It is based on kind of an error on my part with the Phase 3 movies and a misunderstanding of where it ends, which I thought it ended with Endgame here, but also with the idea that we were leading up to Endgame being our final film initially anyways. So we were kind of calling this as our own Marvel Cinematic Universe for 22 films. But regardless, we're going to do it anyways and just give you the 23rd one there. So
yeah, because why not?
Why not? All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Bye-bye.